back.
You need some bud. I need some dog, you. Yes, bitch.
There you go. Oh. I just got done clearing. What? I'm covering cuts from briars. I hate clearing the brush. All I have to share. So Guff just jumped up and said hello to the camera. He literally has been beside me the entire time. It was in the bathroom after I did this, and he follows me everywhere. Fucking hell. What? Yeah, baby. Oh, yes. Come here. Come here. Come on. Looks sleepy. Yeah, a little bit. I mean, it's more or less just, shit I have to deal with for today. What? Come here. Come on. Yeah, I'm kidding me. Come on. Holy shit. Goddamn, bro. Oh my god, you're making a mess. You goofy boy, you're making a mess. What are you doing? Oh my god! Hi! Hello! Oh. Man, what the fuck? What? Oh my goodness. Somebody missed me. I wasn't gone for that long. There you go. Oh my god, goof. What a sweet little goober. Oh, here, let me tilt this. Get this plugged in. There we go. Where's my Bluetooth? I kinda need that. I need to grab that real quick. Oh, God, you gotta follow me again. There we go. Need this. Okay. Try to wake up now. Well, honestly, I wasn't really like super early, but I took a nap on the way back. On the drive back from Kankakee. Kankakee, Oregon, near Rainier and shit. But at least this morning I went to my co-workers, former co-workers wake and shit, and yeah, got a chance to kind of bring into like rekindle a little bit with their mom, and then their side of the family in a little bit and shit, which, God, man, I feel so bad for him, dude. Especially for Ryan's mom, like, the kid died, like, his mom is just, like, going for so much fucking shit. It's just ridiculous. She's having, like, pretty much, like, everything, like, from, that life could possibly fucking throw at her, being thrown at her. Lost her husband not too long ago. Her kid recently just fucking died. And then she had a best friend died of a heart attack the other day. It's just like, what the fuck, man? How could someone deal with that? Like, how could someone just be handed so much shit? It's like, how in the fuck? Because the fucked up thing is, there ain't nothing a goddamn fucking, hell, obviously, this lady don't deserve any of this shit. But it's just how the roll dice happens sometimes. The fucked up thing is, we kind of drove by, the accident of where, it happened, because, a lot of it's all in the local area. And honestly, considering the location and where we drove by it, it's just like, it was a little surreal. I mean, honestly, it was really kind of fucking surreal to see it one more time, frankly. Like, I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's different, that's for sure. I could definitely see why people don't do that sometimes. And, yeah, frankly, I feel like I might be one of those people where it's like, I don't know if I want to see that again. Because that's, yeah, like, I didn't really say or do anything, but it's, yeah, it's just kind of hard to explain. Let's stick to texture to this picture. Saying did that. Well, amusing boomer joke is amusing though. I mean, it's not really. I honestly think when people have those around, they're fucking idiots. It's like like I've out of things that you can blame Biden for. That's literally not one of them. Like, if anything, Saudi Arabia and OPEC are actually more to blame for that more than anything. And fossil fuel corporations, but that's an aside. Go. My age at a catcher said Biden's the worst president she's had in the mountain. Well, she's, again, a fucking idiot. Well, it's kind of funny. At least, Ryan's older brother showed up. When they showed up to the whole wake thing. They're actually, like, kind of cracking a couple jokes of each other right off the bat. At first, when they met each other. When they saw each other and shit. And me and my two other coworkers who I tagged along with to, you know, come up and pay respects and shit. Like, we were all kind of sitting there looking at each other for a minute, like, what the fuck? We were just like, yo, like, there's like a corpse over there, like, here, and you're all cracking jokes, but then they introduced themselves to us, and, you know, basically, you know, quickly realized, oh, you know, siblings, okay, that makes, you know, that pretty much had the vibe, you know, check happened real quick there, and realized, okay, all's good. In fact, one of them was making a joke about, like, hey, you know, can I go in there and, you know, blow this, like, you know, like some of this vape pen on him? And then another one was like, yeah, I was gonna put, like, a nug of flour in his pocket, and I'm just sitting here like, goddamn, you know, all things considered, if I have to go out and I have this happen for me, I want my friends to do the same thing. I want my siblings and friends to do the exact same shit. Yeah, we'll give him, like, you know, some mushrooms and, like, you know, some flour to have him cremated with. Keeping an extended family. What? I'm not, just whatever. Anyway, but, like, these brothers are actually really fucking cool. One of them is, another, like, Safeway employee that works at the, this one that basically doesn't even have a bakery or a deli. And holy shit. I thought that, like, some of the shit that, like, some of the stories, you know, are pretty wacky at my store. Holy fuck. Like, there are some wacky fucking shit that happens at, like, small town, like, Safeways and shit, dude. Like, it makes our shit look boring as fuck. Like, seriously. And there's some straight up interesting shit that happens at least, like, once a week. At the very least. Sometimes they're not always worth a story, but, you know, like, sometimes it's at least, like, you know, a little bit of a funny moment. And there has been a few times recently. But, like, all these stories that this dude's telling us was, like, literally all within, like, the past month, and there was, like, 8 of them. And I was just like, oh, it's like, Jesus. Man, I thought, you know, like, our shit was pretty whack. And that, like, you know, it's like little cranks to me, Safeway, whatever it is. It's like they just they get all sorts of crazy fucking characters, and they still have a bottle drop thing. So, which that means is basically there's like a outdoor like bin area where you just will, like, you know, where the store will basically have, like, you know, a place where you can drop your cans up and shit. And like our store used to have it, and now it's just like a little storage area for like our barbecue stuff and other shit. So we used to have one, but now it's a storage space. And you know, in this store they still have theirs. And apparently, like, people from you know, even the next town over will come over to their fucking little bottle drop can drop thing. And because there's such a line of fucking people, like, apparently, like, no one wants to ever deal with it. So the one dude that we were talking with earlier, he's pretty much the only one that has to ever deal with it because he's literally the only store manager there. It's like, oh my god. It's like, for such small stores, like, y'all get fucking crazy shit. One story that kind of stuck in my head was that, like, like, there's like these two chicks apparently, like, that were literally fist fighting it out and having a straight up brawl, and one of them, like, got one good, like, sucker punch on the face on one of them, and he was like, alright, I should probably break it up, because, you know, then she got one good kick in the face to the other one, and he went in the middle of it, and that other chick who got kicked in the face and sucker punched, she somehow, like, went over him and, like, clobbered the other chick, and would, like, you know, having a fight. And this third dude was like, yeah, fuck her up, you know, doing, like, you know, like, some world star shit going on in the background. And then, you know, him and then, like, one other star player were like, all right, y'all get in your own vehicles and get the fuck out of here. And they did, but they all came in the same vehicle. They were apparently friends. So they went to apparently they got arrested at the Rainier store, where apparently they also had a fucking fight over there. I'm just like, what the fuck? And apparently that was like last week, and I'm just like, Jesus, this is what happens at your store? God damn, hey, come out here more often. It's like, shit. It's like, goddamn. Then, of course, they mentioned a couple of, like, district manager types that we also know. We're just like, oh, you gotta deal with those people, too. Oh, curious. Yeah, aren't they a little weird? And it's like, yeah. It like, a lot of the weirdness about some of these, like, district manager types is very, very much confirmed. Like, because honestly, if anyone who works in retail long enough will eventually meet, like, district managers and shit. You know, because every, like, little region, you know, that these stores have their own little districts and shit. You know, that, you know, different managers kind of operate with and all that shit. And and honestly, all of them are weird as fuck. Like, they all are, like, got some, you know, like, I won't say, like, baggage or anything, but they just, you know, they got quirks. And I don't know if it's, like, you know, because corporate looks for people who are kind of quirky for those positions or what, but, like, every district manager I've ever met has always been a quirky, interesting motherfucker. Sometimes they're chill, but not always. You remember this? And serve chili with its ashes mixed into my stepmom. What? And put in some badass chili, then serve to my so I can have one last fuck you to her. But see, I don't know about that. See, I want to do that shit myself. Honestly, I'd rather have my cremations, like, scattered around, like, scatter that shit around Oregon or something, like the Gorge and shit. A little bit of Gorge, a little bit of Mount Hood, a little bit in the Willamette Valley. Whatever isn't donated to science, you can cremate and do that. She didn't use all of his ashes, just a pinch, but still funny. Well, I'd hope that she didn't use all of it. That'd be a very, smoky chili, if she did. The rest of the ashes, I don't know. Because I'd be dead. Or you don't care? Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't mind at least having, like, a little bit Yeah, like, for me, if I were to have it my way, I guess, with, like, cremation ashes stuff, I would definitely want, at least, before that happened, whatever can be donated, go ahead and donate to science and shit, like my brain or whatever, and from there, whatever isn't, just, like, let half of it, be at, like, a rest spot, and the last half of it, like I said, scatter through, like, the Gorge, Mount Hood, and Cascade Mountain Range, and Willamette Valley and stuff. But, beyond that, though, like, I'm kind of the same way. I don't really care. Because I've been dead. Donates addicted, so, like, what use would they get out of it? That's kind of a caveat. Like, what use could they get out of that? Nothing. Like, there isn't exactly much use from that. Creating the next generation of dildos. I could just do that while I'm alive. In fact, you would have better results with me alive doing that. Because I can, like... that would just be better with me alive, not dead. Like, just straight up. Like, like, I could do that now. Like, honestly. I mean, I was about to say I don't know why, but then I just realized, well, obviously people will probably buy them, so it's like, okay. I mean, I guess there is that. Just want to put them in your bum. Well, that's, oh my god. That's what a dildo's for, I would imagine. Is doing that. Or, well, sticking it in any orifice, really. I mean, that's kind of the point of them. So, yeah. Oh, you just look so cute. I could tell just by the way Zukov looks right now that he's just super ridiculously happy to see me. He's like, I'm happy you were there. You were gone for a while. I want to be unopposed. Just slap himself with a freshly used though. Oh my god. What the fuck? I'm not like... I don't think I'm in a mental state for this right now. I think I'm at just a state of affairs where I'm just like, whatever, just do whatever you're gonna do, I guess. I don't give a fuck. If I had a little bit more energy to care, I probably would. I'd just be like, bro, why? But I truly don't. I'm sitting here and just like, just trying to cheer you up, bro. I mean, I'm not like depressed or sad or like about to fucking cry or anything. You seem down. I mean, I'm just groggy. Like, I stayed up most of the damn night. Like, because I wanted to make it to this, So, I mean, I'm just, like, I'm not, like, all depressed or... I mean, I'm still a little, like, fuck, like, with earlier, but, I mean, it's not like, I'm scarred or, like, traumatized or something. I mean, to be fair, I am a little, like, fuck, that's gonna stick with me forever. Like, I mean, I know that much. It's definitely something you won't fucking forget, but it's not, like, something where I'm, like, scarred or traumatized with, so. I mean, it's not like, like you're in Portland and all of a sudden you see someone get shot and they're dead then, and you see a body that way. This, it's like one of someone you knew and worked with and, got to meet their family, and is, like his wife and his kids, is bringing up with. It's just, it's a lot different. I mean, it wasn't even like I was, like, super close with him, but, I mean, close enough that, I considered him and his folks, friend and, kin as far as I'm concerned. So. How do you feel about Cocaine Bear? future classic or future $5 bin movie or both? About Cocaine Bear? I mean, it's new and refreshing, so I'm actually pretty excited about that. Like, it's something new. Like, dude, when I saw the trailer, like, literally everybody in the comments and, like, everyone that I've seen talk about it so far fucking just already loves it. Like, people already love the movie, and it hasn't even been released yet. It's like they released a trailer, and everyone's like, yes, please, more Cocaine Bears. Like, I mean, people want it. Like, people are craving Cocaine Bear right now. Ben from DP witnessed a murder in Portland a couple months ago. Yeah, it's honestly the reason why I brought it up, because I remember when Ben talked about it. Because he was like with Jeff Holiday and Billy, and they're all at a bar, and, well, I don't know if Billy was there, but I know Ben was there, and, yeah, straight up, like, there was this scuffle that happened outside the bar that they were hanging out at, and one of them shot the dude who ran off. And that dude, well, he died there, you know, he got shot multiple times, like, you know, unless you're getting medically treated, like, right then and there, you're kind of gonna die. So, that's what happened. See, like, I feel like, while that would stick with me, like, that wouldn't necessarily be, like, fuck, you know, like, kind of how I, you know, feel a little bit with, like, you know, I guess with this situation a little bit, like, because it would still be like, fuck, but it wouldn't be like, fuck, you know, that's something to kind of like, you know, kind of take back a little bit. I mean, if that's just like, oh shit, a random human being just like got whacked, and I got to witness that, oh, Jesus, you know, it's more like that. I guess a part of it too, a little bit, is that, you know, I've also hung around with people that have, like, dealt with it and, you know, have, like, gallows humor, and I also have a little bit of too. So, I mean, there's, I guess, also a way where, you know, I'm able to at least, you know, deal with it a little better. And I guess this isn't necessarily my first time, you know, being, you know, dealing with, you know, mourning and funerals and stuff. But still, I mean, it, you know, sucks either way. And, you know, and obviously it, you know, it's not a good feeling, you know, having to, you know, go through with it and deal with it, but still, I mean, it's, you know, it's not like something that's like a major, like, super impact, but still, it's just, like, kind of fucking surreal, because he was, like, 28. I'm 3 years younger than that, so it's just, like, you know, it's definitely, you know, like, kind of made me reflect a little bit about my own life and shit a little bit, which that could be part of it too, honestly. Maybe realize that I should probably jump the gun more with shit in comparison to not, all things considered. Because you never know when some freak accidental shit's gonna happen, and then done, you know, because that's what happened. And it's just like, that's kind of the surreal thing about it, is just kind of thinking about that, is knowing that, like, you know, there wasn't really anything, you know, about, you know, like, his life at that moment that, you know, was saying, oh, you're done. You know, if anything, I mean, from what I understood, he wasn't really in, like, the greatest spot. He was kind of depressed, but, you know, I guess nothing, you know, like, out of the ordinary in a sense when it comes to dealing with that type of shit. So they know, like, all things considered, definitely wasn't an intentional situation, you know, with doing that, or with an accident, you know, being an intentional, like, you know, like, crash or whatever. From my understanding, like, because there's, like, those little side rails, from my understanding, he, like, kind of lost control, rammed up against the side of that, which caused him to, like, cream over to the other side of the road and had a head-on. So it's just like, especially when it's like icy roads and shit, which is the conditions that happened, that were going on that night, having like icy roads and being a little bit at night and kind of dark and shit, or like very early in the morning where there's not a lot of light. Yeah, there's a very high chance of accidents, especially with like black ice, which is, you know, like the ice on the road and shit. That's very fucking dangerous. Like, and that can happen to anybody. Like, you know, so. And you can't necessarily see it. But in a way, I guess it's also kind of like, I guess in a way, like, you know, kind of comforting, you know, that it's like kind of knowing exactly, you know, what happens. Because all I heard was car wreck and that he died from it, and honestly, that could frankly mean anything, you know. So it's just like kind of at least knowing a little bit of the details, you know. It's like, okay. Hey, hey, what the hell? Huh. What? 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 Get over here. Come here. You big butt. What? Murph. Come here. You little bastard. Come here. That's not coming here. That's walking away. Oh my god. Really, dude? Hey! Get over here! Get? Go on. Go on. Oh my god, you know, fine. Fine. I like how normally I could just point there and he would sit, but now he's just being a dick. Now you're just being a dick about it. But anyway, won't keep up with you know, talking about at least, you know, with I deal with this morning. So honestly, I want to know something that was a little fucking like weird and creepy though, that had nothing to do with like the whole wake thing, was the room that was or like the little mortuary room that that he was in. Like, obviously it's automatic, but the music that was playing in the background was just straight, like, was just straight up, like, fucking, like, the holiday Christmas music. And at one point, it was playing that, like, dun 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 dun, like that song. And, like, pretty much everybody in the room was a little low-key, like, bruh, what the fuck? Like, we're all kind of like, this is horrible. Like, this is the worst fucking music to be playing right now. This is seriously, like, off-putting. And someone was like, man, it's like, man, we need to have, like, some Disturbed playing or something. And everyone was just like, yeah. So I was just like, so at least there was, like, an agreement that, like, yeah, let's have, like, Disturbed or something be playing. Because at least that would be more fitting, because, you know, he liked Disturbed as a band, so, you know, that type of music and shit. So, yeah, it would be a lot more fitting than... It's like, God, even one of my other coworkers, just like, he was mentioning, like, man, that was kind of pissed me off a little hearing that music. That was just so creepy. I'm just like, yeah, it kind of was. Basic Christmas music. I mean, well, after today, yeah, because honestly, like, now I'm gonna be thinking about Christmas music and then just, like, thinking of, like, seeing a dead buddy, and it's like, why? It's like, what the fuck? Again, I know it's, like, automatic music, and I'm sure it's just playing 24/7 or whatever the fuck at a very low, like, audio, but still, it's just like, I mean... couldn't there be a way to shut it off or something? When I miss that shit. Well, earlier you were just missing Sukov go off like a fucking ridiculous month. I know his funeral's gonna be on the 7th, so it's pretty much like a confirmation that basically, like, half of the store is just gonna either not, like, is either gonna call in or make sure they're scheduled that day off. Like, and everyone's just like, we don't give a fuck. We're just gonna do it, you know. So I know for sure that we're gonna make sure that like we get, you know, some people like dragging their asses along to it, whether they want to or not. There was supposed to be like initially 5 of us, but there only ended up being 3 of us going down there today because the other 2 fucking slept in on that shit. I honestly thought I was gonna be the one late a little bit because I showed up a little after 8 because the meetup was at 8, and did not realize it was just me and one other dude because everyone else was fucking like still asleep, waking up. So I was actually on time one for once. I was like, fuck, I mean, I got my, you know, dots and T's all squared out. Shit, what the fuck? Should have taken my T. Well, why? You didn't know him, so there's no reason for him to go. Like, this is a work buddy, not like my friend circle, like, that I knew since high school and shit. It's like a different friend group. So, yeah, if they didn't know them, there's literally no reason for them to go. Outside if he just wants to just partake in the morning for some reason. Which I know he probably wouldn't want to. He'd probably play respects, you know, just out of niceness, but that would be probably it. Slang for fell asleep work, but, well, you know, my coworkers, you know, at least coworkers have a rapport and I'm friends with, and we'll, like, after work, smoke with, chat with, you know, bullshit with, and hang out with at times. You know, that shit. I know what you meant, though, but, yeah. Honestly, like, one thing I also kind of found out, at least when it comes to, like, grocery stores, not having store directors or like store managers and shit like that. Our store is not the only one that suffers with that, apparently. And also, apparently, they will like actually straight up like shovel around bad store directors to give them like chances, you know, as a way to redeem themselves. Because there's somebody, because the old coworker that's the mom of the other one that I knew that died. Like, she's working at Freddy's right now, and basically she has to deal with a store director that is the 3rd store that apparently she's fucked up like other 2, and basically is like the last one that she's managing right now is essentially like her last chance by Freddy's, and it's like, what the fuck? I'm just sitting here like, wow. I mean, like, churches or fucking, like, police departments that got, like, some bad chiefs in them, you know, they just literally shuffle them around every now and then and just hope that they get better or just that it goes away. It's like, oh my god, it's like, wow, I'm not surprised. Yeah, they're actually merging with Fred Meyer, well, Kroger specifically, but Kroger owns Fred Meyer, so, yeah, like, it's Safeway technically owned by Albertsons, so it's Kroger and Albertsons merger. So that's like specifically what's going on, but a lot of people are trying to fight and challenge it because essentially that would monopolize a lot of the grocery store industry, essentially being owned by basically like 3 companies at that point: Walmart, Amazon, and Kroger. You know, outside of, you know, some smaller ones like, like smaller regional ones like Costco and shit, but like outside of that, like, I mean, you essentially got like 3 big motherfuckers and that's it. And one of them at least, you know, has multiple like chain brands under its name. Walmart has its own name brands under its name, and same with Amazon. So it's just like, it ends up being a massive oligarchical, chain where there's no fucking competition. So basically, free reign to jack the prices up however the fuck you want, and, you know, to also do whatever artificial scarcity that you want, essentially, because you control the fucking market. You have Dollar Generals. Well, they're not Dollar Generals, but they're called Dollar Trees. But yes. Where everything's $1.25 now instead, with that fucking horseshit. Next to most churches is the Dollar General around here. Well, there's various different types of churches around here, and most of them are usually just in neighborhoods. They're not like outright next to like stores and shit. But then again, we're not like a small town like fucking Alabama and shit where everything is next to the grocery store basically. Honestly, there's frankly like a lot of fucking churches around here. Like a fucking lot. A lot of them tend to be pretty progressive, some aren't, but honestly, it's like, even with that in mind, there's a lot of people that are very fucking conservative and Dominionist style, theocrats and shit that essentially, will go to these churches anyway because it's like their community church, and all that shit. Like, it's like even if they don't necessarily agree with everything and all that type of stuff, it's the community church, everyone knows everybody, and blah, blah, blah. So it's like very close net with comes to a lot of that. There's a church every 5 miles here. Jeez, that's more sparse than around here. Dude, there's at least like 4, 5 different churches within like a 3-mile radius. 3. One church every 5 miles. Jesus, I didn't think Oregon would one up you, but man, I could beat you better on that. Fuck. Go more in downtown Portland and shit, get more into like the actual like Portland area and stuff, in those neighborhoods, then there's at least like one every fucking 2 miles. My stepdad's thinking about starting his own ministry and wants me to be the Jew. What the fuck does that mean? The money handler? Was the whole security job not working out? Now he wants to start his own goddamn fucking ministry? Oh my fucking god, bro. No one his fucking political views and everything, that just sounds like he's starting a cult. I want to start my own religious cult. This whole security job thing ain't working out anymore. Might as well have a way to fuel my fucking political hatred. Let's start a cult here. Oh my god, dude. I could have my son be the money lender. You know what? That probably wouldn't be a bad idea because then you can scalp some of the money. And then, be like, hey, you're tax exempt, but not from me. I'm gonna get my fair share in this. Just be like, I guess, people aren't putting in as much in the money pot as much as you think they are, Paul. Unfortunately, it looks like that's what it is. Meanwhile, you're taking like $30 out of the 100 that's in there every time. This dude the BS of his boss lying to him about how many hours he was going to get and keeping his raise from him. I wonder what would help guarantee those. That he also refuses to be a part of because he thinks it's for lazy folk, even though I guarantee you they bust their ass just as much as he does. I wonder what that would be. It's at the very least he can at least have his raises, even if his hours are still fucked with. At least his raises would be more guaranteed. If he was at least in with the fucking union, but I guess not because he's too good for it. Which is just a weird fucking lie that corpos like to fucking tell workers that want to chew up their sweet little honey, even though it ain't sweet. It's very bitter. But I guess some people's taste palates are, where bitter is sweet and sweet is bitter. So, I guess, can't really, say much about how their palate is. Man, I just find it, like, kind of silly and just so self-defeating when there's people like, hey, I'm going to, like, like, be in a job and I'm getting fucked over by my boss, but I also have the mentality of, like, if I suck up my boss enough, I'll get recognized. They do that, and yet the situation's basically the same, or if anything, gets worse, and it's just like, you have at least, a collective bargaining ability with a union to at least, at the very minimal guarantee the wage part of the issue, and at least, have more of a bargaining power when it comes to whole hours and shit, and at least have guarantees with that when it comes to, like, maybe getting overtime or, coming in if you need to and stuff like that, because then, your boss can't just tell you, hey, you're not supposed to be here, get out. Because then at that point, don't really have much repercussion, but if you're at least in a union, you can't do shit. And honestly, that's kind of the reason why, at least on the 7th for Cork's funeral, like, a lot of us we're all just going to call in, basically, and I guess, basically for all intents and purposes, do a little walkout, but it's, pay respects and shit. So it's like, and they can't do shit about it. Hey, you called in, so fuck you can't do anything about it. If we didn't have that union protection and shit, they could. So it's like, even with, like, more, like, toothless corporate unions and shit, you still get protections that at least guarantee you a little something something, and that's always better than not having it at all. So it's like, even with, like, that's at least, something that I always mention when it comes to, like, union agitation. Even if there's a, local that's already there, and if anything is, unfortunately, kind of a weaker union in comparison to others, that's obviously still going to be better than not having one at all. And if anything, having, like, more people joining it will actually give more funds, for the dues, for the union, and thus be able to actually invest a little more into actually doing things. So if anything, adding more membership to these locals and stuff actually does help boost their power a little bit. Especially if you got, rabble-rousey types like me in there, So Bezos should be in jail. Well, that's the least of what he deserves, but yes. His boss got pissed at him trying to go up the chain of command to talk to his boss's boss. He threatened to fire him, so he quit. Like, wow. So because he was willing to actually talk to his boss's boss, which he knew would probably be a no-no because, basically, essentially, that would mean that, like, oh, then my boss is going to yell at me for not making sure that you're satisfied or whatever, so, the hospital's safe, and I'm going to get chewed out for it, so, fuck. So he's basically now, like, at this point, like, your stepdad's boss is now got a vendetta against him. Like, at this point, he probably now just wants him gone. So even if he wasn't going to quit, he was going to fuck with him way more, because of that shit. Like, severe hour cuts and shit like that. Even trying to maybe fuck with his pay that he already has. So they're rupturing the paste. Well, that's one way to solve the issue. Go watch Shelter Perspective, the one where they're talking about Jason David Frank in that episode. He mentions he saw a murder. Oh yeah, I think Vosh was. There was one time where I remember that Vosh was on DP at one point recently, and Ben was talking about it there too. Like, basically, like, from my understanding, like, Ben and Jeff Holiday, and I think, somebody else they're hanging out with, we're all in the bar in Portland. I don't know which one. There's a lot of bars in Portland, so when they say that, they could mean, like, any bar. And there was, like, some scuffle between two people outside. One of them had a gun, pulled it out, and just straight boom, 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 just shot and whacked the guy, and the guy died there on the sidewalk, and just right there off the side of the street, right in front of this bar and shit. And most people went like, oh fuck, and you know, kind of freaked out for a second, but then just basically went on about their fucking went on about their night. And it's like, well, that sounds very Portland, unfortunately. Vosh will make on yours. I agree. Vosh's new haircut looks much better. He's kind of got like that fucking like suave shit going on now. It's just like, goddamn, bro. You should kind of grow the, like, honestly, he could rock like a fucking pompadour mullet, honestly. Like, if he grew the back of his hair out just a little bit, and then, like, had that, like, pompadour suave shit that he's got going on right now, dude, that would be, like, some... Dude, he actually would fucking rock that shit. With Vosh was, like, 18 with long hair and no beard. Dude, that is a weird Vosh face without the beard and the long ass hair and shit. I can only imagine Vosh with that beard now, honestly. If he ever shaves that in the near future, I'm gonna be very upset. I noticed the man bun being gone and stuff, and I was like, whoa. But that was very easily to adapt to. That beard being gone, though, I don't know if I can hang with that. If you did, like, you know, took everything but left it like a handlebar mustache or some shit, like, I'd accept that. I'd at least let that slide, but, yeah. If Mary's still calling there, I don't know if I want to go, because it sounds like Detroit. I mean, it depends on where you're at. Yeah, Portland's mostly fine. There are some parts of downtown Portland, mainly at night, that you want to avoid, but it's only very specific areas. For the most part, you're safe. That goes for any city, and pretty much. I mean, that's basically just the rule of thumb around here. Hold on, I think my dog wants outside. What? Dude, what? You gotta go poo or something? What the fuck are you doing? Okay, there we go. I always hug the homeless to give them $20 for booze. I want to hug them around here. They probably have a needle. I'm not kidding, by the way. I really would not want to hug one. Booze makes me almost a little shitty, a lot more shitty depending on the person. Well, that's why I prefer to just give them food. Like, sometimes if I have food cart food and I have, like, leftovers because I'm too full, I'll just honestly straight up, like, give some to a homeless guy. You know, because if I don't want to necessarily carry it everywhere that I'm going with me, yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, someone will be like, hey, do you have, like, $1 or two? And I'll be like, you know, I was going to just, you know, carry these for, like, hours until I went home. Do you want this instead? And it's still warm. And they'd be like, oh, okay, that works. And like 90% of the time, that's usually what they say. The other 10% of the time, they're usually like, oh, nah, and just keep moving. And at that point, it's because they're probably looking for money for, you know, for a fix. But most of the time, usually, you know, there are at least a lot of homeless people around here, especially if you happen to be new food courts. You know, chances are they're probably scrounging money so they can probably grab like a $2 or $3 item at one of the food carts. So, and like I said, about 90% of the time, if I have some leftovers and I offer them, they will usually accept it. Sometimes they'll be like, oh, okay, you know, shrug and just like, not what I want, but alright, you know, at least I got some food for later. And then sometimes they'll genuinely be like, oh, okay, sweet, you know, and they'll actually be kind of like, you know, happy about that. Be like, oh, wow, someone actually is being nice. So, you know, it's like, even if it's just like an offer and they don't accept it, I mean, in a way, that kind of, even that in itself will sometimes make them a little better, or at least catch them off guard a little bit, be like, well, okay. Because usually, you know, they're just wanting some change so they can use that money to just get whatever they want, which obviously could be either fix, alcohol, or food. I mean, it could be anything. Hell, it could even be saving up for some supplies, maybe, like, you know, some, like, something, I don't know, like pens or something like that, you know, so they can have something to write with. Or some shit like that, you know. I was like, I don't fucking know. You give places bad, but whatnot, place where they can, well, yeah. Like little community bath areas or something like that. I mean, we have like little laundromats. Like, believe it or not, we still have a laundromat around here. Like, right next to my store, there's straight up like a full-on laundromat. And like, and honestly, I mean, that's already at least helps with, you know, washing some clothes and stuff. But I mean, there definitely needs to also, I think, you know, be like some form of accommodation when it comes to all that type of stuff. I know like trucker rest stops tend to have a lot of those type of things, like a place where you can brush your teeth, shower, shit like that. But if anything, maybe those could be expanded to more to just truckers, but obviously to, you know, some homeless folks as well, and give them like a free hygiene kit as well if needed. I mean, basically like a, you know, like a hygienic, like hygiene clinic or something like that, you know, for like, you know, homeless and impoverished and shit who might not be able to necessarily afford, you know, as much access to this type of shit. The staff facilities, yeah. I mean, Carl's actually kind of right with that. Like, you can't just simply put a roof over the head. I mean, that obviously needs to happen, but some of these people need to be in a place where there is dependency, where there are, you know, where they're staffed in that facilities to where they can at least get treatment before get back on their feet. You know, for a lot of homeless people, sure, you know, giving them a little roof over the head will help, you know, give them enough stability to where they can help, you know, get back on their feet with the little, you know, just a little bit of help like that. But there's a lot of people, you know, due to, you know, mental health issues and addictions and shit to different substances, that you just can't necessarily just put a roof over their head and just expect everyone to be all hunky-dory. Like, you need to have at least, you know, very specific treatment facilities, you know, where there's staff and social workers, you know, that are prioritized to helping these people out. But many people more or less choose to stay on the streets like Paul says to needs. Everyone could get a job or save an apartment. I still feel like I'm a NEET. You're not, though. I mean, you actually do work around, you know, your own home and stuff like that. You actually do shit. Like earlier today, you were telling me, like, when I hit you up on Discord, you were clearing up a bunch of brushes and shit. Like, that's doing work. I mean, it's not, you know, like, getting paid to do it necessarily, but hey, it's still yard work. I mean, that's still labor and shit. Like, needs, like, at least, you know, needs in the definition that, like, you know, like what someone like Paul or, you know, at least what we're talking about, don't do that. They wouldn't even, like, do dishes and shit like that, you know what I mean? They wouldn't even barely clean up their own room. They might, like, that's probably about as far as they would go with it. Like, oh, the work I do is basically maintaining my room so it doesn't outright, you know, look like a total shit sty. I mean, it's like, unfortunately, you know, a lot of needs are basically that, but you're not that, though. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't even really qualify that because you actually, you know, do other shit. Like, you've tended horses, you clear shrubs and shit, you got, you know, like, you'll, like, help build defenses, stuff like, you've told me different things you've done. Like, you're definitely not, like, in need by any metric. And plus, you at least have some elements of education. Like, and you also have education on ranch handing and farm handing a little bit. I mean, because you have a little baby ranch stead, you know, with a few horses that you have and shit. So it's like you have knowledge on these things. So it's like you could hypothetically get a job doing something like that. Dude's depression, not just my room is messy. Well, so is mine. I mean, it doesn't have to be, like, honestly, like, a messy room isn't even, like, a criteria being neat. Like, neats can legit, like, keep a pretty decently neat room and still be neat. You know, and there could be hard busting working people that are nowhere near neats and have messy as fuck rooms. So, you know, it's not like, you know, a qualifier necessarily. Though, I suppose it's more likely you will have a messy room and someone who's, like, hustling, bustling, while might have a messy room, nowhere near as, like, neat messy, where just shit's everywhere. I mean, I'll admit my room's probably a little neat messy right now, just because, like, usually I'm either, like, working or sleep, you know, frankly, either working or sleeping for the most part. Which actually, It's a little after 3. I'll be a little loose if going into work today. They already know that I had to go to a wake earlier, so. Honestly, I'm just going to hit up my other 2 coworkers that were supposed to show up, who I know I'm going to be seeing later tonight, likely, and be like, what the hell? Give them a little shit for it. Learned helplessness figuring, well, it's all fucked, so why bother? Oh, absolutely. And honestly, I try to refrain from doing that, honestly, because, like, I'm, at least for myself, you know, and I try to encourage that, because, I mean, you know, like, this whole sense of just like, oh, it's all fucked, so why bother? It's like, well, because there's, even though, like, there's a lot of things that are fucked, a lot of that shit's out of your control. There is stuff, though, that is in your control. And you can at least, you know, change a little bit so things are less fucked. And, you know, you can't necessarily start big off the bat, so start with something small. You know, it's like, oh, like, you know, my house or my room or, you know, or whatever the fuck is kind of messy and cluttered. It's all, like, chaotic as fuck. Well, just take a day or two to just organize a room. You know, don't start the whole house or something like that. You know, just take one room and just a section of it to start with. And before you know it, you're probably going to get to, like, 2 or 3 rooms and get focused on doing it and not realize it. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, once you actually start, you know, like, resolving something, you kind of get in a zone and you kind of realize, you know, oh, I'm done, and oh shit, that much time? And then you realize you get this little confidence boost, so like, fuck it, I'm gonna do the other room. And then, you know, it kind of goes from there. And it's just like those small little things that can help, you know, build up and at least kind of build a better stable foundation to where it's just like, hey, now I can at least, you know, tackle these other bigger issues, like, you know, trying to socialize myself more or something like that. You know, something that's, you know, more of a challenge, but nonetheless something that you can at least, you know, fix and resolve over time. So it's just like, it's just little things like that. And the little things can help be some of the more foundational blocks to kind of help, you know, keep a more stable ground to deal with more challenging issues. Because like I said, if you try to start with big issues at first, you know, while you still have to deal with these smaller issues, it gets very overwhelming because you're trying to deal with this, but then there's all this other shit that you're going to be noticing on the way to deal with that issue. And you're going to try to, like, pick it all back together while dealing with that bigger issue or bigger issues overall. And that's where it gets overwhelming, and that's where a lot of people end up being like, you know, fuck it, why bother? There's so many this, and all this other shit. And like I said, usually a lot of that type of stuff tends to just be out of, you know, people's control, because a lot of it tends to be more bigger issues, like, or at least more local, like, issues when it comes to things like social issues or politics and shit like that. And at least, I guess, at least on a more local level, there's at least a level of, like, control to it, I guess, indirectly, but I mean, on a national or state level, I mean, not really, you know, so it's, you can only worry so much about it, you know. Change tire for the first time today as well. Well, there's a, you know, like a little success thing right there. A little achievement. Damn things are heavy as fuck. Yeah, they are. And honestly, like, once you change the tire, you realize that they're not that difficult. They're actually pretty easy. Like, I've done it a couple times myself, and, you know, they're not too hard. It's just about, you know, like, setting it in there on and on right. And then, you know, getting it all tightened properly. Like, it's more about just getting it back in there and make sure it's all nice and tight and shit, more than anything. That's kind of the tricky part, because if you have those bolts loose, and one day while you're driving, all of a sudden the wheel's gonna clunk, and then you're gonna have a wheel start rolling down the road and being like, what the fuck? What was that about? It's like, oh, I should have tightened those, huh? It's like, yeah, that won't be good. Don't want that. That actually happened to my dad once. Like, he was driving home from work when he was working out in the mountains in Washington, and on his way back he hit a bump, and that caused the wheel, because he changed it the other about a month back, and he didn't tighten all the bolts. And when he bumped into it, the other ones got loose and shit, and it was enough to just pop the other ones off, and it just started bouncing and bouncing and bouncing all the way down the road, and eventually hit a ditch and it just got stuck in there. And my dad luckily was able to at least, you know, do a temporary fix and get back home safely, and then look at it more specifically. And luckily it wasn't like outright damage, you know, and shit. I mean, there's scuff marks and stuff, but I mean, nothing like too serious, I suppose. Though hearing how he described it, because of like watching that whole wheel bounce, you know, all the way down the road, and just being like, oh fuck, please don't let there be a car coming around the corner. It's like, cause oh no, that like, oh Jesus, oh man, I don't even want to know what would happen. Man, that would be bad. That would be very bad. Also, may I stress, may the 6 of my cartel girl twice my age during drug bench I was on. Also, I let homeless friends save me from a bar 10 years ago and trashed in place and did drugs I wasn't comfortable with in my home. Oh. For context, I get roughly... I get roughly a G a month. I was like, what? If I could save $10, I basically live on an income as rent off of, yeah. Which is just, ugh. Also, I kinda need to see my pay stub today, because my shit was fucking low. It was some no bueno shit, I do say so myself. It was literally like, just like right at 300. I'm just like, what the fuck is this? It's like, I know last week was slow as shit and I didn't work that many hours, but like, goddamn. Still experience your shit. Like, honestly, like, well, yes, but also I'm finding out that, like, the current temporary store director actually is kind of fucking with people a little bit. Because one of the PICs, while he was helping produce with dealing with some of the produce, he got bit by a spider, and obviously, you know, needed, you know, to go home and all that shit and blah blah blah, because, well, you know, getting bit by a spider, he probably wanted to get that addressed, and he was trying to get his sick pay and stuff, and apparently, from what I understand, like, the store director is basically like trying to fuck him over of his sick pay, and, you know, and like fuck him over of his hours and shit like that, because I guess he don't want to work and just tough it up because he got bit by a spider. I mean, it's just like, it's like, I mean, at this point, I need to just start I need to at least start, like, collecting some information about this type of shit, and, like, very specific stuff, and just, like, send it to the union and get, like, not just a rep, but, like, a few motherfuckers in there, because, you know, because that's kind of what I need to do before I, like, go up there, is just to make sure I have, like, yo, there's a lot of shit going on here that needs to be addressed, and it's not even me. I mean, I'm part of it, but there are plenty of fucking other things that are going on here that need to be addressed, and need to be brought to the attention, and blah 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 blah. So, what's a bus? You mean a school bus? Because I've never seen a non-school. Yeah, a city bus. Oh my god, you need to be enlightened, son. This is why we need public transit nationally. We need to nationalize public transit. Because, like, every town that at least has, like, at least, like, 2,500 people should at least have, like, one bus route. Covered benches of heaters, AC to stop along sidewalks. God damn, we don't even get, like, heaters and AC at our bus stops. What the fuck? Yo, what the hell? We don't even get heaters or AC on our bus stops. I mean, we get the covered benches and shit, but not all that other extra shit. What the fuck? You bitch. Like, oh my god, you're flexing now. Dude, that was a flex. Oh my god, what? We don't even get that shit? I don't even think goddamn, well, you know what? No, Seattle actually does, because they have like their little like their light rail system. Like their stations are fucking huge, and yeah, there's some like heaters all up in them bitch. Oh my god. So they have little AC units to blow down on people. Oh my god, that's so fucking awesome. Why don't we get this shit? We need to start having that for the fucking heat domes and shit that we get. Like, goddamn, we actually unironically can use that. Like, man, you just like, man, I'm jelly. I'm jealous. You made me jealous. Taxis still have heated seats and drive snack machines in the car. Well, that's cool. Well, at least, you know, you got some, you know, taxis that offer some nice accommodations, but still.
Must love everyone.
Must love everyone. Yes. Let's try OnlyFans. That might work. I mean, maybe. Fuck it. Yeah, do it. Honestly. Why not? Like, all you have to do is just, like, you know, every now and then. And people will pay for it. Huntsville is 30 miles away for context, and taxis don't leave the city. GoFundMe didn't work. That's a GoFundMe. OnlyFans is different. I have some femboys and girls at my local kava bar I hang out with every night to do that. Oh, well, there you go. And honestly, a lot of different people, you know, do that shit. So, I mean, honestly, all in all, like, I mean, it doesn't really matter what you look like. Chances are you'll at least get some people, you know, paying money to watch your shit. You can at least get, like, a little side, you know, like a little baby side hustle going. Largely depending on how you look, especially for, so you might have to cater to obscure rear fetishes. Like, if you're average looking. Well, I mean, I guess to a point. Like, I mean, there's also just the virtue of, like, you know, just pointing your camera at your dick and just busting a nut. And I mean, like, honestly, people are gonna look at that and be like, you know, and just be like, yes, please. Like, so you wouldn't even have to do that much, in a sense, you know, when it comes to offering the goods, I guess. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, Saul 2 right here. Oh my fucking god, bro. I've seen what you look like. You are not a goddamn 2. Okay? Like, good lord. Times that by at least, like, 2.5 or something. Which, that'd at least be a 5. But even then, a little more than that. I don't know. Times it by 3. There you go. I mean, it's just like, you're not, like, that bad looking, bruh. Sounds like an understatement. There are a lot of those people willing to pay to see average village. Naked in one still. Sort of try. Yeah, I mean, at the very least, might as well. And honestly, there are people who are, like, quote-unquote chubby chasers, you know? So it's like, if you got a little, you know, little chunk going on, I mean, some people legit love that. So it's just like, I mean, sometimes, you know, people like a nice, you know, kind of chunky, cuddly guy, you know, and to them, that's not below average. That's like, that's what they're looking for. So for some people, you know, like, I don't know, like, it varies. Like, it does legit vary, you know, and it, you know, does, like, obviously, you know, depend on people's interests and shit. But that's the whole point of OnlyFans. People who are interested are gonna buy your shit, you know, and check it out. What's he doing? Try to advertise the separate forms, etc. That cater to ski fishes. I know guys that worked for it. I mean, if you're going to go that route with it, I mean, goddamn, I mean, I don't know if it's worth it with, like, that, but, I mean, I don't know, I mean, there's options. I don't want to be a cam girl, though. Well, but hey, you might say that now, but who knows? You might get into it. I mean, it's up to you. Like, I mean, I ain't the one that brought it up initially. I'm saying, though, it is most certainly a valid option. Honestly, I can see any people exhibition on the internet for strangers. I suppose it's like any other form of, like, you know, performance art in a way. It's just a sexualized, you know, nature of it that, you know, obviously a lot of people like. Hence why porn exists, or sex shows too, and all that other shit. It's like, that's why they exist, you know, because people like that and people are into it. People want to watch, people want to perform. Which, obviously, you know, it's like, I think that type of shit's been around for quite a long time. Like, frankly, the whole, like, OnlyFans idea has been around since a long fucking time. Because, realistically, OnlyFans is just a more indirect way of prostitution. So, old profession just evolved a little bit. Fast food around. Scenario for your big booty golf girls is into you, but her dad is a Nazi. Would you smash? Is the big booty golf girl also a Nazi, or is she just apolitical, or what? I guess that's the caveat. Because I could deal, like, because if she fucks on her dad for being a Nazi, then that's a very easy, like, win right there, because we'll just, you know. No? Okay, so she's not Nazi. Okay, so there's a strong chance that she's probably going to say fuck Nazis and probably disowns her dad. So, yeah, I would. Because then we basically would just have a good time, you know, just shitting on her dad. So, it'd be a good time. Try to de-radicalize him. Well, okay, I guess this also adds to the point, like, how far is he in it? Is he like, you know, yeah, man, I don't know, maybe there's something about this whole Jew thing. Like, is he, like, that far into it? Or is he like, we need to literally eradicate all the goddamn Jews? Is he like, I mean, how far is he with it? Like, I guess that's also the caveat, too. Because if he's at least not that, if he's not TFG, then sure, you know. But if he's straight up like TFG and don't give a fuck and is, like, willing to punch you for even, like, trying to challenge his idea, then, like, QAnon Jan 6 Kanye West Nazi. Okay, so if we're going like Kanye West level QAnon Jan 6 style Nazi, then I won't even bother. But if it's at least, like, you know, not that, then it's worth a shot at least. If we're talking like Kanye level of absurdity, then just no. No, someone de-radicalized girlfriend's most of all. Well, yeah, it can happen. mean, it's not obviously some impossible, feat or something. It most certainly can happen. It just kind of depends on the individual. Some individuals, are going to be very gun-ho to the point that they will literally like die to the death, fighting for that idea. Then some people who are just, they're just kind of caught up in it, but don't have a real true belief to it, and or somebody who can eventually be de-radicalized. Spurgeon's apostates asked, so what about me? I'm one. They usually say, but I know you. You're one of the good ones. Yeah, because as soon as they have something that directly affects them, they start to sing a different tune. They still believe in the whole genocide for apostates and shit, but it's it's kind of like the whole like noble Jew trope that some of the Nazis had for at least Jews that collaborated with the regime. It's just kind of the same. It's kind of the same idea. It's like, oh, you're the good one because you're not like the others. You're the noble one. I mean, it's not like they really changed their opinion on it. I mean, they might with you at least, but at least when it comes to like, all right, well, you're at least exempted. But the rest of them, though, no. They don't exactly have a total position change with it. Would you work at BK and have it your way? No. Because they kind of suck. Jan 6 was a Pizzagate manifest into practice. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I've worked fast food, but I've worked at pizza places, sack places, fast casual, quick counter service, restaurant. You get free food during shift take home. Saves you a lot of money. That it does. And working in retail and a grocery store too also does that. I like to make taco salad pizza for lunch and then take another home. Hell yeah. Carl knows. He knows what's up. McBarsha knows what's up. He knows what's up. Would push me and I explode. Well, retail isn't as bad. I've mentioned some horror stories and I mentioned some crazy shit before. But honestly, the worst that we have to deal with are mainly just fucking tweakers. And they come in various different flavors. Some of them are just trying to steal some shit. Some of them look like, they're on their last wire and they will, like, fuck you up if you try to mess with them. Some of them are just like, like mental breakdown mode. Some of them are just like, actually genuinely like kind of down on their luck and are, caught in a bad spot where they, have an addiction. And sometimes these people will come up and generally be nice, kind of timid people, and some of them will be honest, some won't, and say that, and the least honest ones will say like, hey, I honestly don't got a lot of money, can you hook me up with something? And usually if they're front with me like that, even excuse or not, I'll usually try to do something for them. And at least, for those that don't, and they just ask for stuff, I just will help them like anybody else, but usually they'll walk out of shit. So, and honestly, like, depending on the flavor of, tweaker that you got going on, I can make a pass for it. Like, if you got the one that's just trying to come in and steal shit, alright, what are you trying to steal? Like, a little bit of contextualization with that. It's like, if you're just stealing, like, a day or two's worth of groceries, like, okay, whatever, you're not really worth it. If you're stealing, like, a 32-pack, fucking, like, some ibuprofen over-the-counter pills and some other random shit, it's like, no, it's like, fuck you, you ain't gonna, like, I don't want you walking out. Like, and at least the people that got, like, the thin fucking hair wire, where if you try to, like, mess with them, they'll, like, fuck you up, like, and you can just tell, like, they're usually just basically the first one, but just that, on top of it. So sometimes if you catch them trying to, run off a 36-pack of, like, beer and whatever the fuck else and try to stop them, You know, like, they got a hair trigger, you know, they might, you know, fucking, like, you know, try to wallop you or something. There's been a few times where, you know, like, they, you know, some of those type of people would try to attack, you know, some of the courtesies of PIC if they try to stop them. Which is why, in a lot of ways, we, like, kind of vibe it out and see if it's even fucking worth it even half the time because of shit like that. 36 pack of beer. Well, you know, like those big, like, things like of Bud Light or Busch or whatever the fuck, and there's like, it's like you get like the 12 packs, 24 packs, and then you got like your, you know, 36 packs or whatever the fuck. And then sometimes you'll get like 48 packs, like, you know, big honkers, you know, that are meant for like a big ass fat fucking barbecue or some shit, or just last like a long time. Like, I mean, you know, just those big, you know, fucking cases of beer. You know, it's like at our store we have those, you know, like those huge ass like cases and shit. But usually it's just either like Busch, Bud Light, or whatever the fuck. You know, just cheap stuff. A 92 pack? Oh my god. I don't even think I've seen them that fucking big. Jesus. Yeah, I straight up don't think I've seen a 92 pack before. I've seen 48 packs, but I've never seen them bigger than that. Damn. And it had to be Pabst. Ridiculously long pack. I bet. I bet, bro. I bet that shit be this wide and this, like yay fucking long, dude. Like, oh my god. It's like, how do you not just get a wooden crate to, you know, just, like, package that all in instead? Just get, like, a big-ass wooden crate with, like, those, like, old-ass, like, you know, like, scratchy rope and shit on the sides of it where you just, like, whoop, you know, you just pick up from the sides and shit, you know, just, like, some old crate like that. Like, you might as well, at that point. Just in big black paint, spray paint, just PBR crate, you know, just on, you know, 92 pack, you know, right on the top of the lid. You gotta get the old classic crowbar to just, like, break open the lid. Who wants that much PBR? Some unfortunate, desperate redneck bastard out there in Alabama, apparently. Some desperate redneck bastard that just really loves their PBR. I don't know. And frankly, I truly don't want to know. Let's see TJ stream. What's TJ doing? Well, don't tell child.
They'll have technology that can interfere. Because the technology might help people? That's not an emotional appeal. That's like an
their link could be the mark of the beast, fierce revelation may be upon us. Oh my fucking god.
Could help someone who can't walk, or help someone who can't see. That's not an emotional appeal. That's a very practical, pragmatic appeal. That is the exact opposite of an emotional appeal. You might feel good about it. That's definitely emotional, but like, yeah, you should feel glad about it because it would be good. Yeah, like, man, the left is always convincing people that positive things are good. Like, what are we?
Goddamn these leftists! They want good things.
The flesh is weak. I'm ready for my multi-gendered cyborg body. Me too, Murphy7801. Thank you.
Can I have my multi-gendered, like, nanobot furry body?
I'm saying. So if they pull your emotional strings, I think a lot of people will start getting it for their family, and then next thing you know, it's normalized, and everybody will
not just that, but if you're depressed, if you're anxious, which a lot of people are because of how the diet has been essentially destroyed here in the United States.
I mean, I don't know. I think the diet thing might be a factor in that sort of stuff. I don't think that you could lay all of our depression and anxiety woes on diet alone, though.
Definitely not.
Which more and more people are becoming.
I mean, I'll say that it does play a role. Like, if you have an unhealthy diet, that doesn't really do good for, like, healthy chemical balance in your body. And thus, things like, depression and things like that, and anxiety, and the like, can, exacerbate because of that. I mean, it's a variable.
That's not a matter of depression. That's just like, I'm irritable. And that's just kind of like my cantankerous nature. I think that would be the case no matter what my diet was. But maybe I'm wrong.
I don't think TJ's cankers as he
just
is.
to normalize their hormone levels,
or at least he used
to. They have been.
His shirt says mind control. Hold up. His shirt literally says fucking mind control. Oh my god. What? Wait, is it in the Pornhub format? It literally is. Oh my god. He's saying that Pornhub's mind control, dude. Oh my god. This sad fucking bastard.
Delivered. I think this is all a part of their agenda.
No.
What show is this? Is this Tim Pool? Luke Rudkowski?
Dude.
Rudkowski?
Okay.
Who is this?
The reason that you're served fast food cheeseburgers that are low quality, cheap, greasy, high calorie foods, littered with salt and fat and sugar, the reason you're served that is not part of some grand scheme to make you anxious and weak. It's literally because in nature, you seek out those foods. Because in nature, before we had this mastery of the environment that we have now, those
diet plays absolutely a role. Well, yeah, that's what I was saying earlier.
Scary.
Like, it definitely can. Like, unhealthy diet, it can lead to, like, internal body chemical imbalances and exacerbate a lot of different issues, especially when it comes to things like mental health, yeah.
Finding a rich deposit.
Though I don't think, like, progressives, like, don't want to hear that. I think usually they're the ones that tend to talk about that a lot, being like, hey, at least when it comes to things like, maybe trying to stray away from meat or having, more, like, healthier alternatives when it comes to, like, food options and trying to expand that. Like, I mean, if anything, it seems like, at least from my experience, it tends to kind of be the opposite a little bit.
Was an amazing boon to you, and it boded very well for your survival, because that's calorie dense food, and that's in short supply. Now it's in extraordinary supply, and the reason that we mass manufacture it and mass consume it is because capitalism. It's because people are willing to pay for it, because people are addicted to it, because they're biologically driven to that addiction to it. It's not part of some nefarious grand scheme to make us, like, submit.
The Venom TJ's answering your question. I'm not saying anything because he's answering the question.
It's part of a nefarious scheme to make a bunch of fucking money selling us way more of this shit than we should ever be eating, because we're willing to do it. Because it gratifies us on an individual level. And a lot of us don't really understand the negative ramifications of it, and a lot of us who do understand the negative ramifications of it are already so hopelessly addicted to it that we can't escape it. But it's not part of some scheme to destroy our mental health. It's just part of a scheme to give us way too much of what we want, because we don't have the wisdom to say no to it. And we're biologically compelled to do it, and someone can make a gigantic profit selling it to us.
Yeah.
It's all that's needed to explain that. You can explain it with biology and with...
I mean, honestly, yeah, and also because fat sugars tend to be pretty rare in nature, and also salts, tend to not be super common. I mean, they can be common and are healthy for the human body, but the amount of salt consumption that is in the modern diet, at least an American diet, is fucking ridiculous, including with fats and sugars and carbs and all these other things. So it leads to a major, big, fat fucking huckabaloo of basically why does like good stuff for you taste like shit in comparison to good stuff that tastes good or is bad for you. It's because there's a lot of fats, sugars, salts, and all these other things. And it's less quality, and you can make a bigger buck off it by just, pumping it full of flavor instead. And the thing is, though, like, there are very certainly good, healthy things for you that can taste fucking amazing. Like, legit. So, I mean, it's not like, healthy things don't, taste good. You can find to seek those out, especially if they're, like, really nice, rich, flavorful, like, fresh things, especially if they're, like, super fresh. Like, get some fresh rosemary, for example. That shit smells so good. Like, it just smells awesome. Like, it works as, like, just a natural, like, aroma that you can just fill a room with. If you have, like, a rosemary plant, like, and, just trim it a little bit off, and you can use that for herbal tea, for seasoning, stuff like that. Rosemary is very useful, even just to, smell up a room very nicely. For a nice little soft, like, kind of almost like, it almost has like a mint, component to it with the smell, a little bit. Dry vegetables, teriyaki sauce, to be able to stomach taste of them. Oh man, dude, a fresh carrot or like a fresh stalk of celery, dude. Oh my god, it's so good.
You're more accurately describing the relationship between the right-wing audience and shows like Tim Pool's.
Were destroyed essentially by them as well.
And look at what's happening in Canada with Made. It's like the opposite version, but just as dark.
Oh, this is Tim Pool's show.
Take your life away. I mean, and for simple reasons like that too. It's really that terrifies me.
You guys ever see the movie Gamer with
Oh my god. The movie Gamer that no one has thought about or given a shit about for fucking like.
Which movie again?
When it came out, like, I remember I saw Gamer in theaters because one, Marilyn Manson was on the soundtrack, and two, Gerard Butler was coming off of 300, and he was like a pretty hot name at the moment, and I think because the dude from Dexter, Michael C. Hall, was going to play the villain. I was interested to see what he was going to do with it, and the Manson track ended up being "Sweet Dreams," which is like whatever.
Sweet dreams are made of these.
And then the Gerard Butler performance was fucking boring dog shit. And then Michael C. Hall's turn as the villain was like the worst I've ever seen him perform. And he sucked. And that whole movie was like a horror. Like it was shit. That movie was dog shit.
The movie was a horror.
And
shit.
The fact that he's like bringing it up in the course of this conversation is remarkable to me. I kind of look forward to talking to Tim Pool if he ever actually brings me on his goddamn show, because
will that happen?
think we could talk shitty movies the entire time, because apparently he has just as bad of
TJ, you better take that goddamn beanie off of Tim Pool's head.
His name
sounds familiar.
Well, Gerard Butler's in it. So basically, there's a guy, he's like falsely accused or something, and then you're on death row.
It's basically Running Man, but in 2008 or whatever year it was.
Was it that recent?
By the way, Lewis, thanks for the $1.99.
You're granted freedom if you elect to be used as an avatar in a game where video gamers can control your body. And so Gerard Butler's in like this battlefield, he's got to kill people or whatever, and this kid's controlling him, and he's like, give me control. You never seen this?
No, I haven't either.
And so,
what year is this?
Yeah, no one's seen it because it's terrible. It's a fucking awful movie.
Years ago? And so Gerard Butler's like, give me control and I'll win. And so then the kid...
I think TJ's up his own ass because he swears movies that I think are good, he thinks are trash. That's called subjective opinion. Dude, TJ does not like war movies at all, or like war dramas, like Saving Private Ryan or Full Metal Jacket, shit like that. He doesn't like those movies. I do, because a lot of them actually tend to be anti-war films. Not all of them, but a lot of them tend to be. So, for TJ, obviously, I don't think he gets it, but, whatever. It's just like, he doesn't like them and talk shit about it, but whatever. Like, I mean, it's just his subjective opinion about films. Saving Private Ryan is a fantastic movie, and TJ hasn't seen it because he doesn't like war dramas. So I have, and I think it's a fantastic film. You know, and it's definitely a really good, you know, war film. You know, it's like, I mean, I'd say that it's not necessarily like an anti-war film outright, but it definitely has like themes, you know, about that. Pearl Harbor's great. Cinematography wise, like the actual battle and the Doolittle raid, like that shit was cool, but most of that movie, I'm just gonna be honest, is kind of shitty. If you want a good Pearl Harbor movie, go watch Tora Tora Tora. That movie's fucking good. That's a great Pearl Harbor movie. Like, go watch that film. Like, Pearl Harbor, like, compare Pearl Harbor to Tora Tora Tora. Pearl Harbor is just frankly kind of shitty. Like, the cinematography of the battles and all that shit's good, but Tora Tora Tora, though, is just far better, just a better movie. And also, the aircraft and shit like that are real. They use real aircraft. So, a lot of practical effects in that movie, too. It's legit a really good movie. Like, Tora Tora Tora, I would seriously go watch. Go watch it later, honestly. Like, I'm gonna go to work in a minute. Not, like, now, but, you know, later. You know, so when I'm gone for a little bit and I come back later, you know, go watch it in between. It's a good film. It's worth the watch. Oh, The Longest Day. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. Yeah, Carl Rove knows some good war films there. Gettysburg is a good Civil War movie that isn't Southern propaganda. The Free State of Jones is not like a total war movie, but it's got some elements to it a little bit. It's kind of a good Civil War era movie. I like how we're just like not giving a fuck about Tim Pool or stupid garbage. It's like, oh yeah, Tim Pool's talking, who cares? EDE's Smeltery? I don't think I've heard of that one. Yeah, so Carl knows some war movies I don't even think I've heard. Oh, another one is Letters from Iwo Jima. That's a pretty good, that's a pretty decent war film, because it's from the Japanese perspective of the Battle of Iwo Jima. Funny enough, I think that's a Clint Eastwood movie. But, strangely enough, it's actually a pretty decent movie. Remember The Longest Day where his parachute was caught in church steeple? I've been to that church in Normandy. Actually, I think there's a story about that particular guy. I think there's actually a particular soldier. Hey, Venom, what's the name of that dude that fought for the USSR and the American side? Because I'm pretty sure, like, he partook in the Normandy invasion and had his parachute caught in the steeple of a church. Wasn't that, like, pretty much, like, the start of his stories? Yes, it really happened. I know it happened. I'm just trying to see if that's the same guy. Because, you know, I'm pretty sure that's referencing that guy. That was Joe Barrel, but it was a different person. Joe Barrel? Okay. Alright. Okay, so the Longest Day in that movie, it's a different guy. It's probably referencing Joe, though. I mean, that scene is probably a reference, you know, to that guy, you know, even though it's not necessarily the same character. Though, to be fair, I'm sure a lot of paratroopers got caught in church steeples. There was a lot of churches in Europe, and still are, so. I imagine, you know, that's, you know, that happened a lot. Honestly, not a good, actually a pretty good spot to, you know, land if you think about it, because now you got a firing position. Like, right off the bat, you know, it's like you have to kind of get yourself in there. Like, you might be dangling on the side, but once you kind of sneak yourself in there and get yourself secured and get your shit, you know, set up, like, you got a firing position so you can at least, you know, and you got some eyes, you know, looking around 360, so you can at least see what's going on around you. It's like, yeah, if Germans spot you, I mean, you at least got a firing position now. And, you know, they can't really do much unless they have a tank. And if they do, well, get the fuck down. Like, because you're probably gonna get yeeted. It's all of a sudden rewriting of history. Oh, Gods and Generals, yeah. Yeah, Gods and Generals is not a really good movie. A really shitty war movie is also American Sniper. Fuck that movie. That's just basically American propaganda revisionist bullshit. Oh god, why is there Andrew Tate? Oh no. Why? Why, TJ? Why did you put him on my screen? There needs to be more movies all about fronts ignored by pop culture. The Ludian campaign in Alaska, the fighting in China, the went to war, the Balkans. Well, I know in Finland there's a movie literally called Talvi Solta. That's like a 2.5+ hour war movie about the Winter War, which is actually a really good war movie. Alright, hold on. I actually kind of hear this. I'd like to see American Civil War movie about Southern perspective, but it shouldn't be apologized for enslavement. Well, I mean, I guess the Free State of Jones is probably the closest one to that, at least right now, that I could think of, because it's about Southern Unionists that kind of like seceded against the South, you know, and all that. So, I mean, it's the closest you'll get, because, you know, it's about Matthew McConaughey basically playing as a Confederate soldier who gets disenfranchised and helps establish the Free State of Jones. So, I mean, you know, it's like, I mean, it's probably the closest you'll get, at least from what I'm aware of, but I'm sure there probably is at least maybe a war movie out there about it. If we ever discover primitive aliens, we should... Oh my fucking god, why do you do this? Why do you invoke aliens and everything? Holy god, dude. Oh my god, dude, like, no matter what, you somehow always, like, get aliens shoved into something. It's like, god damn, bro. We get it, you want to fucking enslave aliens to have as your personal sex slaves to exploit. We get it, like, god damn, bro. You want some of that alien poo-poo. Want the poom-poom, we get it. American Sniper 2 starring Steven Crowder. Oh my god. You know goddamn well they probably would have that. Frankly, like, I mean, even the book that he wrote, Chris Kyle, like, even that is revisionist bullshit. Because honestly, like, I mean, he and a bunch of other people couldn't confirm that he basically loved just the idea of, like, you know, killing Iraqis, basically. He didn't really give a fuck if they were armed or not. Like, a lot of the scenes where he's, like, struggling to, like, maybe shoot a kid that, you know, that picked up the RPG or whatever the fuck, like, he would outright, like, put, like, 5 rounds into that kid, like, in reality. Like, while in the movie and the book it's kind of portrayed that he, you know, struggles to even take the shot, you know, hoping that he doesn't pull the trigger on the thing or something. You know, but in reality, it's like the kid walking up to it would have been enough to just blast it. You know, so it's just like, he was an outright scum motherfucker and a war criminal, but there's a book and a movie that basically just does total revisionist history, you know, about the whole thing. Go see what this is about.
The beginning of the short? Yeah, whatever.
Truly negative experiences. I've had a few where you come close to losing your life, or you meet other people who come close to losing their lives. Nobody's an atheist at the end, my friend. He will not be an atheist if he gets stabbed and he's about to die. He'll be praying to God like you've never seen. Atheists stop being atheists quickly when the game gets real. Also, if
yeah, I mean, like, when you're emotionally compromised by a stab wound and you start I mean, like, dude, I would literally fucking embrace anything at that moment.
I mean, no shit, like, what the fuck? And frankly, I mean, you know, just recently kind of, like, you know, like, you know, had to, you know, kind of deal with this, you know, like, whole thing about, oh, like, kind of seeing, you know, kind of death in his face and blah, blah, blah a little bit and all that shit. Like, I mean, not, you know, for me, but at least, you know, like, kind of seeing a little bit of a reflection of that nonetheless, you know, with, you know, someone I knew. So it's just like, and like, I don't think, you know, suddenly I'm like, I'm now no longer atheist all of a sudden. Like, I'm now, like, yeah, it's like, yeah, after that, I'm Christian, guys. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, this entire time, I was a Christian, actually, because of my experience. So, it's like, come on, dude. It's like, really? I mean, it's like, I mean, I know that, you know, most of the people that I was around were, you know, to at least one flavor or another, but I don't care. So, like, you know, that's fine. You know, so it's just like, I mean, it's, like, it's not some issue, you know, but like, how is this like some big weird thing of like, oh, you know, it's like these atheists, so it's like, we don't have issues about any of this, like, what the fuck?
Magician showed up and be like, Merlin,
Especially ex-Muslim atheists. Well, I can tell.
check upon my wounds.
I'm noticing this.
Yeah, go figure. Like, being in an intensely emotional moment,
I'd become Muslim if it allowed me to survive otherwise terrible wounds.
Might fucking make you more irrational. It might make you more prone to.
I heard from a classmate that white America right next to clapping cherry when the Arab kid got killed. Same play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Of people being stabbed, that God has not once intervened.
Which, by the way, the kid that the one kid that did die in that movie, that at least I directly remember, was actually by one of like the Iraqi terrorists, like antagonists in the movie, who basically took a drill to the kid's head. So, if I'm thinking of that scene, they're basically saying win stupid games, win stupid prizes by being like collaborating with a terrorist, so that deserves a little like 9-year-old to get his head drilled. So, at least that's how they depicted it in the movie. Did that happen in reality? I fucking doubt it, frankly. Because again, it's utter revisionist bullshit. So, it's like, but nonetheless, they cheer that on. It's like, that says a lot more about their fucking asses, more so than anything else. But propaganda worked, didn't it?
No way, you know? God has never shined his mighty light of heaven down on a stab wound and been like, no, my child, you are healed. And also, if you genuinely, truly believed in God and thought there was a heaven and thought you could go there, do you really think you'd even want to be saved? Like, would you even really want the stab wound to go away? Wouldn't you rather go to heaven and enjoy the fruits of paradise for eternity?
Talk about happiness. We're here to be happy and we're here to enjoy ourselves. It's through God that you're happy and enjoy yourself. It's not through endless pussy and supercars. And you can find any man who goes down that hole.
Yeah, you literally are all about that. Oh my god. Bruh, really? Really? That's literally what you're about, you fuck? Like, what the hell? Oh, he's Muslim now, so it just, like, rules out all that, like, pussy and Lambos and all that other shit he was literally flexing not even, like, a month ago. Like, excuse me? Like, are we, dude, like, are you, do you think people are that fucking stupid?
You're that guy. That's the main
Is he, that's, like, does he think people are that stupid?
My lead.
You know what, yes.
Pussy and cars.
He actually thinks, you know, the people that listen to him are this fucking stupid that they won't pay attention to that.
But now you're like, but no, brother, that's empty. What's really good is God.
It's kind of insulting, you know, the people that watch him.
I think when you have negative experiences, and I'm talking about truly negative.
Yeah, the man who's happiest is not usually the man who's praying. The man who's happiest is usually the man getting blown. Sorry. Show me a dude getting a blowjob and show me a dude bent down on his knees in prayer and ask me which one I think is happier. And the answer is universally not
gonna be the guy getting the blowjob.
Pious adulator. Sorry. My testosterone is too low to understand. That's true. I don't really get it. Too low testosterone. Too low T. Too low T to understand the
certain people like date, yeah.
Very true, very true. Alright, so we're going to talk...
Well, I suppose there's at least somebody who's, I think, you know, at least a fairly alright positive male role model a little bit. You know, like, I mean, Vosh got flaws, but, you know, like, he seems to... I know he talks about, you know, like, men issues and shit a lot, so... You know, like, I know he's straight up made videos specifically talking about, like, you know, loneliness of men and stuff like that. So, you know, I say at least, you know, he's a, you know, someone, unfortunately, basically carrying the back for the issue, I suppose. But, you know, because it definitely is an issue that, you know, should be talked about and stuff. And obviously, you know, Bosch ain't afraid to talk about it because, like I said, he's straight up made, like, 20, 30, 40-minute videos about this stuff. Polish works. Yes, he's a nice big gigantic Polish bratwurst in between some good saucy buns.
Over here. I told you we were gonna bring up Kanye again. So we're gonna look at this video. This is why Nazis like Kanye don't deserve a platform. By good old Voosh.
People like to attribute like censorious or anti-free speech politics to me. I do not believe in hate speech laws, and I do not believe in arresting people for the stuff they believe. I am fully okay with disallowal from running for office and disallowal from participating in public discourse if you're using it to spread hatred and to threaten violence against other people. To me, that's a fair line. We have to understand we're playing for the highest stakes here. Once the Nazis take power, that's it.
Tend to agree so far.
Guys,
I don't really understand the idea of banning people of extreme ideologies from running for office. Because if the electorate wants them, like, that's the problem. The problem is not like, hey, there's some hate-filled dude running for office. The problem is if there's an electorate out there that would support that, that's the issue. And I don't know how you deal with that. You can't really deal with that by deplatforming that politician. To me, it's like...
I mean, you can't definitely deplatform via politician, but I definitely think social ostracization is definitely one element to it. Name and shame is the name of the game.
But they can't go out on the street and stab somebody. So it's like, oh, look, prison works. Well, I mean, it works in that limited sense, but, like, you haven't actually dealt with the underlying... social issues of what caused this crime in the first place, right? So, I don't know. Like, I feel like it's really weird that, someone who's, like, espousing, hey, we need to have, like, a more egalitarian sort of socialist fucking ideology, you can't back away from that the moment that the stupidity of the populace starts to inconvenience the narrative. Like, yeah, the fact that we have a bunch of hate-filled bigots out there in the electorate is a serious fucking problem. But you can't just be like, well, my previously held democratic notions of, hey, power to the people, you can't just set that aside when you realize, hey, some of the people are actually horrible. You have to actually deal with the underlying issues. I'm sure Bosch probably does have plans in his head about how to do that. But
I figure Bosch might have a mentioning about that.
Initial objection.
Did you know that free speech is really cool? I did, because I agree. The problem is that nobody seems to understand what free speech means. Is it anti-free speech when you call a person dumb? Probably not. Is it anti-free speech if you show up in a restaurant with your shirt off and you piss on a table and they tell you to leave? I mean, maybe, I don't know, maybe. Here's somebody...
A little bit. I mean, yeah, a little bit. It's a little bit anti-free speech. The problem with this argument about free speech to me is that everybody always wants to make it a binary where on one side there's free speech and on the other side there isn't. And it's just like, very few things work that way. When I say I'm non-binary, I'm not just referring to gender. I'm referring to a lot of these, like, social issues where it's like, oh, you're either for this or against this. It's like, usually that's not how it is. Usually there are instances where you're for something and instances where you're against it. There's instances
honestly, it's kind of like, I know one issue that kind of sticks in my head with this right now is like with guns and firearm shit and like gun control and stuff like that in Oregon right now. Because basically people are like, oh, you're for this or against this, and have like a binary mentality with it. Even though it's not exactly the case, as is with most shit.
Yeah, everything is very like contingent and conditional. No fucking shit. So the problem that happens most of all in like this free speech debate is the same problem that happens in any number of debates across the vast fucking spectrum of ideas that exist in the world, is that people try to fit it into two narrow categories and then put everyone in those categories. Like, you're this.
Well, I guess a lack of nuance.
Well, no, I'm not this or that. I'm some other thing. Most people are some other thing if they really fucking are honest with themselves.
Who knows how free speech works, okay? Get ready for it. I may not agree with what you said yesterday, but he has the right to say it. That's how free speech works. Finally, somebody's willing to cut through the crap and tell us how free speech works. Thank you, Kevin Sorbo. That's awesome. Now I know. Now that I know what free speech is, I have some questions and concerns a little bit about the way that free speech as a concept is constantly invoked. They often say that, like, the right is more preoccupied with free speech than the left is, that the left is censorious. This isn't backed up by any data, as far as I can tell. Right-wing governments are far more censorious broadly than left-wing governments are. If you take a look at the allies of Trump around the world, they tend to be very much so. Trump himself immediately tried to use his power as president to like shut down the media, which seems
and loosen libel laws,
maybe a little bit. Yeah. But I was also curious about the.
That's all true. And by the way, also look at all these fucking right-wing supposed free speech absolutists out there right now that are all about censoring library books and getting like, oh my
censoring
God,
LGBT ideas,
books in the schools because it's brainwashing and it's grooming and it's this and it's that and the other.
Trying to literally outright shut down fucking like drag performances and different forms of expression and shit.
You guys are not pro free speech. Like
such free speech,
even on the most like rudimentary
such freedom
level,
of expressionary
I
ideas.
just cautioned you guys about being too either or on this issue, but you cannot claim to be some kind of free speech absolutist and then have a literal laundry list of things you want censored, and mostly, by the way, completely harmless things. The claim to fame, the claim of like the right wing is this like safeguard of free speech and they're out there fighting for free speech values on the regular, not fucking true. Not
it's
even remotely, vaguely approaching the area
it's
of
comical.
true. They're very fucking pro-censorship. And really, it's just like when most people, I think, left or right, talk about freedom of speech, I think that the mentality was, and largely always has been, freedom of speech for me, but not for thee. And you notice, like, when people make exceptions to what freedom of speech should and shouldn't be allowed.
I have that book, by the way. It's a good book.
It's usually along very ideological lines. It's usually the people who have ideas that are very different from my own are the people who really should be the exception of free speech. And that's a failing I see on all sides of all political aisles.
Exact way in which this was being invoked, because it hasn't escaped my attention that every single time free speech is brought out as a defense by the right wing, it's to defend horrible people. I remember there was like a CGP Grey comic from years and years and years ago where if the only defense that you have of your argument is that it's not technically illegal to express it, you probably have a really bad argument. Oh, XKCD, sorry, not CGP Grey. I associate them because they have similar art styles. XKCD, that's right. And I think that's actually a really good point. Like, don't get me wrong.
I love all the libertarians who say I'm up for legal weed, but and then cheer when a lesbian and leftist black woman is in prison in Russia. Yeah, I kind of saw a little bit of that on the news earlier when I was when we were eating at a pizza place on our way back from the little wake that we were at earlier, and I was overhearing them talk about it a little bit, and I looked back and I saw some of it, and I was just like, oh, she got released, okay, and I really wasn't paying attention to what they were talking about because I was listening to a Vosh clip. Not this clip, but like some other Vosh clip. Because I was just enjoying my pizza and be like, damn, this shit's pretty dank.
Under the First Amendment, we are protected from government persecution based on our politically protected speech, or any other kind of speech, really.
I think we all know, though, that the fucking concept of freedom of speech is a lot broader than what's contained in the First Amendment. Like, there is the legal definition of free speech as it's outlined in the Constitution as a right. Hey, here it is in the Bill of Rights. First fucking one. Freedom of speech. Freedom of religion. Freedom to peaceably assemble to fucking redress your fucking problems with the government or whatever the fuck. And Congress shall make no law respecting establishment of religion or any of this stuff. And there's always going to be freedom of the press and freedom of the people and all this shit from the government. But there is a broader conversation about freedom of speech that really exists in America. And most people, when they're talking about free speech in America, are not talking just about the First Amendment, even if they think they are. Most of the time, what they're talking about is a more broad idea that anybody should be able to say anything. That there should no idea, no matter how controversial, should be censored. Now, of course, every single person who believes this or says they believe this probably has 1,000 exceptions to the fucking rule.
Usually do.
Every single person who thinks that they believe in some sort of a form of free speech,
I mean, I'm definitely guilty of it.
You're guaranteed to find some place where they don't agree with that. But that is, I think, what most people are discussing when it comes to the freedom of speech issue. Most people are not just talking about what does the First Amendment say, what does it actually cover. Most people are talking about a broader idea about don't censor. Don't censor ideas just because you don't like them or because you think they might be harmful to society. Because the problem with a concept like harmful to society is that it's completely the fuck subjective. Right? Like, what I think harms society, and what Tim Pool thinks harms society, and what Vosh thinks harms society, and what, one of you randos in chat thinks harms society, it's not the same fucking thing. And it's not the same fucking thing because we've had different lives, different experiences, we have different values, different ways of looking at the world, different ways of measuring moral arithmetic, and so on and so forth. And there is no great objective truth of values that's going to descend upon us and present itself like a Sam Harris fucking Deus Ex Machina come to fucking
Sam Harris Deus Ex Machina
of this ambiguity, right?
Damn.
It's not just going to present itself and be like, the truth, now we see it. Now we just have to follow the objective truth that exists in these matters, because there isn't that. Okay? So
there's definitely a weird thing I don't like about Sam Harris. He thinks there's like some objective truth.
Tribal affiliated groups going around and pushing different tribal affiliated agendas, and one says this has to be censored because it's going to lead to this, and one says this is going to be censored because it's going to lead to that. And I'm not going to get into who's more right or wrong on that, but the problem is that that's what's going on. And no one fucking seems to want to goddamn acknowledge that. No one wants to acknowledge that this is just different tribes, different tribal groups with different tribal interests competing to censor one another, all while saying this is real freedom of speech. This is true freedom of speech. True freedom of speech is when the speech that I like is protected and the
objective
speech
morality.
I don't like is censored. And that's
objective
why
moralism.
I think I've come up with the best fucking idea to sidestep this whole fucking thorny issue.
Believe in objective truth. Well, objective truth is different from having an idea that there's like some moralist objective truth.
There are a lot of things
like objective truth of like the facts of reality of things like
things that human beings
gravity and physics and all this other shit, biology and et cetera. Like these are obviously objective truths.
But there's also a great deal of things that human beings talk about and deal with that are not subjective, that are actually can be supported empirically with data. And in the instances where people misrepresent data, in the instances where people misrepresent empirical reality and present lies and distortions as though they were truth, that to me is when the tool of censorship comes in handy. Because it's a lot harder to make socially deleterious arguments when you cannot lie. It's a lot harder to sell people bad ideas when you're not allowed to use lies to sell them.
And that's why snake oil tends to be so popular, because you can lie when you're selling snake oil, because it's kind of the point.
To me is where the tool of censorship would actually serve a useful function. Because trying to censor people's opinions, it's just never going to work, because there's never going to be any sort of objective measure you can point to. It's always going to be through the filter and the grist of someone's ideology.
There are exceptions, obviously. Death threats can be illegal. Harassment can be illegal. Defamation and libel can open you up to civil libel.
Your data doesn't defeat misinformation. Just look at flat earthers. I never said it did. But imagine if flat earthers just flat out weren't allowed to fucking say it. No pun intended. Like, flat earthers should not be allowed to go out there and propagate the idea that the earth is flat, because it's fucking not. They should be censored because they're misleading people. Now, in the case of flat earthers, I really don't know if there's any actual harm to what they're saying, but
probably
just
not.
The fact that they condition people to accept bullshit as truth is enough for me to say, fuck them. That's not freedom of speech. That's not an opinion. That's a misrepresentation of fact.
Liability. Not criminal, but civil. But that's still enabled by,
I kind of tend to agree with this principle on those things. Because if you extrapolate that to things like anti-vaxxers and shit, then you realize where the actual, real, serious, devastating harm can be. Like with anti-vaxxers and shit. Like, there's real, serious, like, harm that, happens to society because of shit like that. So, it's like with that premise in mind, like, those type of people will not be nowhere near as able to propagate outright fucking lies and shit, about, medical science and shit when, they're trying to say, oh, it's just opinion.
Before, like, one of the good examples of, like, the complexity when it comes to free speech is, what if you could go back in time and kill Hitler? Mind you, if you go back in time and kill Hitler, this isn't just a...
It's very easy to mislead people with the truth. I mean, it is possible. But ask me if it's easier to mislead people with the truth or with lies. Right? It's usually a lot easier to use lies. There's a reason why some of the people with the most regressive social agendas are also some of the biggest liars. Because it's way easier to sell...
Regardless of religious nonsense. Yeah, I agree. There should not be, fucking religious exemptions for, getting vaccinated or anything.
If they lie nonstop.
I get medical exemptions. That's understandable because it's medical exemptions. So, like, that's different. Like, there are people out there that legit can have allergic reactions and, or, whatever the fuck. Like, medically, there can be issues where, you probably don't want to have a vaccine because of that. So... yeah, like, that can't happen.
The violation of Hitler's free speech and, like, an abstract philosophy.
But that's why everyone else gets vaccinated, so, then those people are more protected. Because then everybody else in society is helping protected them with herd immunity. Because, that's a thing.
But I think it speaks towards kind of a broader concern.
What if I make a scientific discovery that goes against the established theory? Then the established theory changes. That's science.
Which is, what would you do if you had the ability to violate somebody's rights, but prevent unimaginable suffering in the future? And that's an interesting question. There's not really, like, an objective answer to this, because obviously we can't actually see the future, so we don't know for a fact how things will turn out. The more socially applicable version of this argument, this debate, is, if you...
Disagree, TJ. Let the crazies babble their shit. Well, we've been doing it. I don't know. Do you like the results? Are you impressed? I'm not.
I definitely ain't.
The speech of people who, if their speech
let the crazies babble their nonsense. They totally won't gain influence or power. Oh, wait.
Institute an authoritarian dictatorship where there will be no free speech. Is it pro or anti-free speech to lock them down beforehand?
It's anti-free speech, but it's a justified example of anti-free speech. Yeah, if you can take away the free speech of one person and save millions of lives, obviously their rights don't matter more. Like, the needs... I'm just going with Star Trek logic here. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one. Right? So, yeah, if you can if you have to take away one person's free speech and the result is you save millions of people, then obviously, in that hypothetical, I think it's worth censoring that one person. It's worth taking away their free speech. However, the problem with an example like that is that you never do have that clean of a correlation, do you? You never really know cleanly. Like, you don't even know for a fact, and I think this is the problem you were driving at a little earlier in the speech you were given. You don't really know that if you went back in time and killed Hitler, that would stop the Holocaust. Maybe it just leads to the rise of someone worse. Maybe it leads to the rise of someone who's just as evil as Hitler, but
actually, I think I don't know if it was Twilight episode or what, but I know my dad's even told me about this once, where it's like the fallacy of going back in time to kill Hitler is that when he came back in time, the world ended up being a lot worse, and in fact, basically where Nazis did take over, because the guy that came at, that usurped Hitler's place instead was just literally that much worse, basically. So it's pretty much, it opens the idea. And honestly, maybe not like to the point where you go back to the future, somehow Nazis win or something, but like, you go back to your time, but obviously without Hitler, but now it could be like Himmler or Göring or some shit, It's just like, somebody else that usurped the power. It could be a totally different outcome, while very similar results, if not maybe even worse results, that can come from it.
More patient, and they actually do succeed in Hitler's genocidal global
like with the Red Alert, timeline.
So maybe killing Hitler isn't the fucking solution, and it's just like we don't fucking know that we don't know of any clean instance of, like, if we just censor this person here, bam, you're gonna save these people here. It's just never that clean. Now, there's places where we can find a stronger correlation than others. Like, if you start censoring a bunch of virulent homophobes, is that probably going to save some gay lives? Yeah. Probably. But not for certain. And we don't know what unintended side effects it may have. Now, I don't know. Is that a good enough reason to say don't censor homophobia? I don't know. Where I would be on it is that, once again, you're dealing with realms of absolute subjectivity, where whether or not it's good to be gay or straight is, or if it's bad, that's all just subjective shit. Unfortunately, we just don't have any sort of objective measure of, like, gay is good or gay is bad, straight is good or straight is bad, bi is good or bi is bad.
Well,
like, good and
I think, honestly, it's because there isn't. I think it just is. I mean, I think that's kind of the thing. Like, I think people want to attribute a good or a bad to it, but there isn't. It just is. Like, being gay just is, or being bi just is, and, you know, it just is. Like, you just are, you know? It's like there isn't a good, a bad, or right or wrong to it. It's a neutral thing.
Properties of nature beyond, I mean, even, like, things that, like, you could argue are kind of objective, like pleasure and pain. There's people who prefer pain to pleasure, or who get pleasure from pain. I don't know. There's these people out there. I don't know who they might be. Somebody out there in the world that might be into, like, some kind of, like, pain and degradation and shit. I wouldn't know anything about that kind of person, but they might be out there in the world somewhere. But no, seriously, like, even, like, the simplest of correlative things that you would think would be, like, no-brainers. Human beings are complex enough that we've totally fucking thrown a monkey wrench in those operations. So there's just no way to fucking measure this shit. Even things that seem like there is, like, a little inroad of objectivity, it's not really there. Even if you try to be like, do like the Sam Harris thing of, like, well, what about we measure it with well-being? Well, not everyone likes well-being. Some people like their well-being to be shitty. Some people like to be, like, you know, tied up in a fucking closet somewhere and fucking only brought out when they're their ass spanked by their mistress or whatever. So you can't fucking... There's
Some people do be like that.
There's nowhere to fucking really sink your teeth into this, you know what I mean? There's nowhere to be like, yeah, here's the truth. It's not findable. It's just like this nebulous thing, and you get, like, a sense of it, but then you wonder, like, how much your sense of it is colored by your upbringing and your education and the media you consume and so on and fucking so forth. And it's just like, it's not there. You want it to be. You desperately want there to be this little thing you can hewn down to this sharp crystal of clear insight, like, yes, this is it, this is the fucking truth, but it's just not to be had. When you fucking reach your fingers out to grip it, it just turns into fucking smoke and swirls around you in mocking fucking, like, you thought you had the truth, didn't you, bitch? Nope. You didn't have shit. You grasped at fucking straws, you grasped at the empty air.
I've always taken the side, and this is called the...
TJ letting his fantasy slip again? Yeah. Whatever. I think it was pretty fucking blatant. I don't think it was really like, ooh, he slipped. It's baked right in.
Tolerance, or the paradox of tolerance. I've always taken the side that actions taken to protect free speech as an institution are themselves pro-free speech. Meaning that if you could say, for example, prevent candidates from running for office or lock people up on sedition charges if they attempt to initiate a coup, you would actually be doing this in a pro-free speech sense, because if those people ever got power, they would remove free speech. We're not talking about the abstract of, like, running down to everyone's homes and, like, arresting them for the stuff they say.
You're definitely not wrong, Carl, because I know the Finnish Air Force at the time had different bombers, like the British Blenheim bombers and shit like that. Oh shit! Hey, get out of here! I'll deal with you in a sec. In fact, that hoe needs that, you know, that hoe needs some, you know, like, goddamn fucking, like, questions answered, honestly, that son of a bitch. Bomb missile destroys restored to her ships as a wall stomp, by the way. What the... Duh. I think there's been different times in history where that's happened and shown the results of.
From running for office, even if you prevent them from having platforms and stuff, like, there's still out there. They still have to be dealt with in some way. So there's a very limited amount of ways you could deal with them. Some of which we could talk about, some of which we can't. But the most compelling thing is, like, I think that the truth is that they have to be convinced. Like, at the end of the day, if you're not willing to shed blood, which I don't know where people are on that, and probably you shouldn't even fucking say where you are on that. But if you're not willing to shed blood, or you don't think that that's the best solution, then the only fucking recourse you have left is you have to change hearts and minds. And you can't change hearts and minds by deplatforming. You have to engage. You have to have the conversation. You have to have the fucking ideological battle. You just can't sidestep it. There's no way to fucking, like, run out of the ring and get a count out or something. Like, you can't fucking, like, there's...
Yeah, you can't really tap out to it. I mean, fundamentally, that's why, at the very least, you know, it's worth a shot to at least have the back and forth with somebody. I mean, obviously, I do think there are people who are TFG and, frankly, and to an extent, aren't really exactly totally worth the effort, but, you know, that doesn't mean everybody. And at the very least, you don't really truly know if someone's TFG unless you at least try to have the conversation.
Fucking confrontation. It has to be one-on-one or, you know, two-on-two, whatever the fuck. It has to be
one-on-one
the result
deathmatch
of an actual ideological conversation with an eye not towards just defending your position. It has to be something that is genuine, good faith argumentation, which means that both parties enter the conversation willing to change their fucking minds. And that's an intolerable reality that I don't think a lot of people on the left want to face, is that if you want to defeat fascists, you have to be open to their ideas. You have to go into the argument willing to be convinced to become a fascist in that argument. Because if you don't, then you're not approaching in good faith, and they're not approaching in good faith. And they're probably not going to approach in good faith anyway. But unless there's an honest argument, unless there's a real discussion, there's no fucking way that they ever fucking change. And then the only fucking recourse at that point is a lot more fucking violent. Like, that's your deal.
Well, oops. I get what he's saying, though. Like, he's basically kind of saying the whole, like, the enemy of my enemy... Well, not the enemy of my... the whole, like, to know your enemy and to know yourself. Yeah, it's a Sun Tzu quote, basically. I mean, he's basically saying the whole premise of that.
Approaching in good faith. And they're probably not going to approach in good faith anyway.
Because you want to at least, like, kind of know your enemy, but also know yourself, you know, as well when it comes to, like, the political shit side of this type of shit. Because, like, you know, you want to be like, hey, you know, we want to, you know, it's like if we're going to try to, you know, like, de-radicalize someone who might be a Nazi or a fascist, you kind of have to know their ideas, know what their talking points are, know that type of stuff, you know your enemy. Like, that's essentially, it's like kind of the whole premise of what is kind of what he's talking about, really. I mean, because, you know, like, if you go look up the Sun Tzu quote, you know, of that broader quote of it, you know, it's like, it's like know your enemy and know yourself. You'll always, you know, win the result of 100 battles. And if you know yourself but not the enemy, for every victory you have, you suffer defeat. If you know neither the enemy or yourself, you'll always succumb in every battle. I don't think that's the exact quote, but it's basically that.
Honest argument, unless there's a real discussion, there's no fucking way that they ever fucking change. And then the only fucking recourse at that point is a lot more fucking violent. Like, that's your only choice, as far as I can see. I don't see a way out of this mess with any of these other tools, like with any of these, like, side steps. Like, oh, well, we'll make them social pariahs.
But not overall. Yeah. That's why I kind of want to have more lefties maybe be in more safer places, you know, like in Portland or in the PNW.
We already did it. We had, like, when I was a kid, so many of the ideas that right-wingers go around saying today, they could not have fucking said. There's so many things that right-wingers go around saying today that they could not have said in the past. At various times, because, like, oh man, this PC culture cracking down on us. But they always break back out, and they always end up saying the things. And now we're at a point where there's a dude, like Kanye West has broken down the barrier of saying you like Hitler. Kanye West said he liked Hitler, and there's fucking still people listening to his fucking
And also basically said he's a Nazi too.
song and being like, this is a banger.
He basically was like, I'm a Nazi, now what? Like, he literally said on an Onyx Jones show, like, verbatim, so.
So, like, we've now broached the Hitler mark. And it's like, I don't know, like, this, it doesn't seem like trying to bury this weird, virulent strain of fascism in the American psyche. It doesn't seem like burying it has worked. So
you can't, you have to confront it.
Maybe it's time to fucking have an honest confrontation with it. Maybe it's time, like I said in the previous segment, to stop letting your conservative friends and relatives and whoever else you might encounter in the world have their way when they start talking their shit. Maybe it's time to really fucking push back and engage on a fucking emotional level. And actually consider their fucking ideas. Because here's the thing. Here's the thing that's so scary. Like, if you're that scared that you're going to be persuaded into fascism, then you're obviously not that fucking confident in where you fucking stand. Because I don't fucking think for a second I could be persuaded to be a fucking fascist. Fascism is a fucking nightmare. There's nothing good about it.
I tend to agree.
It's literally a horrible system. So if I actually sat down and engaged with a fascist, and I was open and he was open, or she was open and honest, and we engaged in a real fucking discussion about it and what we both want, by the end of that fucking discussion, I'm not going to be a fascist and neither are fucking they. That's the fucking reality. But people don't enter these conversations open-minded. They don't enter these conversations willing to actually commit to an open dialogue. It's just ideological chess. Pawn takes rook and all this bullshit. So no one actually is engaging. They're just talking to hear themselves talk. And it's so fucking obvious to me when I look around that everyone's just yammering. And that's what I desperately try to avoid fucking being, is just another yammering fucking voice that loves to hear the sound of my own words. I actually want to try to convey something of an idea to you.
That's why I'm at least mainly listening right now.
I want to fucking change this world. I can only do it with your help. I can only do it if you're willing to fucking fight for what you believe in. Whatever that is. It doesn't even have to be the same thing I believe in. But it can't be despotism.
It's close enough.
It can't be the idea that your fellow human beings belong in fucking shackles and chains and belong oppressed, belong as a position of lesser. But if you believe in any form of human egalitarianism, if you believe in any form of human beings coexisting on one level and each exploring their own individual personalities, merits, values, and so on and so forth, in an environment of like mutual, I don't know, non-harm. If you believe in any variant of that, then I think we can fucking work together. If you don't believe in that, then fuck you, you're my enemy. But I still want to talk to you. I still want to engage with you. Because I want to change your mind. Because I don't know how you could be so fucking lost. I don't know how you could be so lost that you think that other people deserve a position of lesser than you. I don't know how you can be so lost that you think other people belong in chains. I don't know how you can be so lost that you think that other people belong on one side of a wall and you belong on the other. I don't know how you can be so lost that you believe that someone else should be destitute while you enjoy enormous wealth. Because to me, that's counter to the human spirit. That's the death of humanity, and we're living it. I'm not worried about some far-flung future death of humanity. I'm worried about the death of humanity that I see around me every day. We live in an age where people are too lazy to think. Watching while eating free food, I found.
Damn. Well, I mean, honestly, like, I love when just TJ gets in a real good fucking rant, because, like, goddamn, it just, like, I feel like I kind of needed to hear that a little bit myself.
And you're a beautiful human being. Thank you.
A beautiful human being.
You must be speaking metaphorically, because I'm not a beautiful human being.
Yeah, you are, TJ. Fuck you.
Free speech absolutism is self-defeating if
it
does defeat itself, which it seems to. It's kind of the same how, like, if you want to promote a society where it's easy for people to drive, you need to set rules for driving, right? Like, the only reason people drive all the time over here in America is because we have roads, stop signs, traffic lights. If you had a system where there was no, where there were no rules in place at all for any kind of, like, driving limitations, none whatsoever, then you would you would disincentivize driving a little bit.
I mean, you know,
it's better for
you
the
would
ability.
you would disincentivize it for some people. For other people, they'd love it. Like, for some people, that's a description of like a paradisical system where like, oh, I could do whatever I want on the road. There's gonna be way more crashes. There's gonna be way more death. But the people who enjoy that kind of thing, like, I don't know, there's certain people who are not as risk averse as others. There are certain people who really enjoy dangerous fun more than other people do. For some people, the faintest little hint of danger just totally sucks the fun out of a situation. For some people, a situation being very dangerous makes it exciting and stimulating for them. So it's like, you know, you can't really talk about this in sort of like a universal human terms because there's just too many different kinds of people on that one.
Yeah.
To drive, that there were rules on driving. Now, in terms of like what limitations on free speech are good, you know, is it good that you can be arrested for screaming fire or bomb in an airport or whatever? That's really complicated. But I want to scale it back a little bit because there's one other concern that I want to bring up, you know, kind of like as a framework. Why do right-wingers only remind us that free speech exists when they're defending people they claim not to agree with on the right?
Some people are drawn to risk.
I
Yeah, those people are called bug
with what you
chasers.
said yesterday, but
I mean, I think we all know the answer to this question, right? I think Bosch is probably going to lay out exactly the correct answer to this question.
free speech exists. Well, thank you for your contribution.
Yes, because right-wingers only care about the, quote, free speech of their ideas.
Nobody was
That's
ever
why.
questioning whether or not he had a legal right to say that stuff. Why this? See, I've consumed conservative content for a long time. I don't think I've ever seen Kevin Sorbo, or in fact any conservative that I can think of, saying, you may not agree with what Ilhan Omar said the other day, but she does have the right to say it. That's how free speech works. Have you ever heard that?
No.
No.
I may not agree with what Biden said the other day in his speech, his dark branded speech, but he does have the right to say it. That's how free speech works. You ever heard that?
No.
No, I haven't either.
Yeah, but you know, the problem is that in the right-wing narrative, they're perpetual victims. So anything that is said that they don't agree with is obviously like the mainstream talking against them. They never view any sort of ideas outside of the sphere of right-wing ideology as even needing free speech protections because they think it's all mainstream. Like, they literally don't distinguish between like Rachel Maddow liberalism and Noam Chomsky leftism. Like, they don't see.
They really
They
don't.
don't see the fucking difference between those two
They
things.
literally think Joe Biden's a communist while he's also doing like union busting, strike busting bullshit too at the same time. It's like, huh? How's that make sense?
The entire left to them is just CNN, and so any ideas that come out of the left, or even like the marginal left, are all, you know, at once totally mainstream and also hideous communist ideology that's going to destroy America. So they somehow.
All Mars is Muslim, make you be the job you did. It's gonna blow the combine the turbine engine. I tell you what. Yeah, that's basically some random congressional candidate for the GOP in the Midwest. In a nutshell.
And in the mainstream all at once. And so they don't think it needs free speech protection because they view only their own speech as being constantly under siege, even as they have the top news network in the country, and there's tons of massive following right-wing vloggers and podcasters.
Someone actually
and
said
Twitter
that, not a
accounts
joke.
and so on and so forth.
Oh my god, wait, no, oh wow.
It's just like they're blind to the fact that they have a huge
I believe you.
network of supporters
Oh my
that are
god.
out there every minute of every day and get massive views and massive recognition, and that their views are pretty much mainstream.
I want to say that I feel like you're joking still, but like, dude, I just know this reality. I know you're telling the truth.
Somehow never see any of that and always just fucking sell the narrative that they're under siege. It's the same thing Christians do, by the way. They, even though they're 80% of the country, they constantly act like Christ is constantly under siege from these vast hordes of secularists, which is a fucking even bigger joke than the left-right thing, because Christians are literally the vast majority of this country, and secular atheist types are like a fucking super fringe minority, which I happen to be a part of. But they act like we're constantly fucking have our foot at their throats, like suppressing them. And so, like, you have to remember the extent of the victim narrative that exists on the right, and that's why they only make this little speech when it comes to their fellow right-wingers being censored, no matter how extreme they go.
I may not agree with what AOC
Yeah,
said.
Christians actively try to censor atheism a lot of the times.
Turtle Drone gave me £2 and said, should we have a death race once a year or the purge? Maybe both. Maybe alternate.
Copa no los dos.
Firebrand gave $5, says, that's what I like about Destiny. He's willing to go into conservative circles and argue with them, and he also canvasses in Georgia for Warnock. Well, I'm not a big Destiny fan, but I guess I can appreciate
Who decided to circle jerk Destiny? Oh my god.
especially since you paid me to.
But, so why for Yee? Why do they say this so much for Alex Jones? Or Nick Fuentes? They said it for Richard Spencer. What about Milo Yiannopoulos? It's because they're defending it. Remember what I said before?
Free speech.
Invoking free speech is a defense. We're not talking about an actual legal argument. Kevin Sorbo's not in a courtroom reminding people of an actual explicit legal right. He's defending it in the only way he can, by using the free speech argument.
Unless it's Cape Horn, Argentina.
Positively.
Oh my god.
That
What a march.
content, that delusional bipolar.
Just thousands and thousands of miles.
They don't say it about other people because they aren't.
You get a bath by crossing the Panama Canal. That's your bath.
I don't even think that they see the need for those people to be defended. I feel like if a leftist says something, even if it's something controversial, the right has a built-in interpretation of, well, that's the mainstream opinion because someone on the left said it. I mean, like, think about how many times you've seen a right-winger single out some random, like, college professor that has no influence and no following and just be like, oh my god, this random college professor said something crazy. This is what they think on the left. They always do that. They always extrapolate some crazy fringe personality to representing, like, the entirety of the left and therefore the mainstream of America. So I don't think they ever recognize the need to defend any ideas outside of the right wing because they're already sort of preconditioned to think that only the right is censored. That's their belief, or at least that's the belief they know it's useful to espouse.
They're interested in defending Nazis. And so they will invoke the defenses they're capable of for Nazis without flagrantly tripping the I am pro-Nazi line. Yeah, here's, thank you for linking this. I think this is fantastic. This is a candidate running against Ilhan Omar, right? Yeah, here we go. Shukri Abdirahman. Shoe for Congress over here. Not that shoe, the other one. Great person, except that actually they're terrible in every way. Here's a tweet. We can no longer get rid of tyranny by the ballots. It's only by bullets now. This is in response to a Twitter file thread in which Matt Taibbi says there was no government interference in Twitter's censorship of the Hunter Biden story, and the only thing that the Joe Biden private DNC campaign group did was ask that they remove revenge porn of Hunter Biden.
I personally think that Hunter Biden's dick is worth going to civil war for, so I'd have to disagree with Vosh on this one. I'm actually covering Vosh here. Oops. Oop. There we go. Bigger. My thing is bigger. No, I think that Hunter Biden's dick is definitely worth going to war for. You know, like, I mean, look, if you're gonna fucking not go to war because Joe Biden's campaign tried to censor pictures of Hunter Biden's big dick from coming out, like, if you're not willing to fucking shed some blood over that, then I don't know. When's the time then? Like, if you're not willing to resort to violence in that instance, like, when are you gonna do it? You know what I mean?
When is it, damn it?
Like, that seems totally worth it.
Oh my god.
In return to the, in response to the information that Joe Biden's administration, not administration, wasn't the president yet. In response to the information that Joe Biden's team requested that leaked illegal nudes of his son be taken down, an okay request as requests go.
I mean, I don't know about that. I personally want to see more of Hunter Biden's big dick. Because that motherfucker, he's packing a goddamn Palooza, and I'm jealous, but I'm also, you know,
I'll admit, I am a little impressed.
I like that dick, you know, and I mean, I can't be a hypocrite on this, you know. I can't be no damn hypocrite, you know. I mean, I've had my own shit leak. People know the banana thing and stuff like that, and that's a thing. But you know, also,
oh my Lord.
You know, I saw Ben Shapiro's sister out there doing her thing, and you know, some others during the little celebrity scandals that happened. You know, I looked at a few things, and you know, I looked at Hunter Biden, and I gotta say, you know, like Hunter Biden, he's packing a Palooza, and it looks nice.
Foot job video. There's more than just a foot job video. I mean, there was like other pictures and shit like that.
You know, I kind of liked it, so I didn't want it censored. You know, I wanted to see more. You know, and I feel like the Biden campaign tried to deprive me of seeing that big old dick, and
the Palooza.
I don't know. I'm pretty much ready to fucking topple the apple cart. You know, it happened. You know, like
oh my Lord,
I want that dick, and if I don't get it,
he wants that dick. Damn it,
burn. That's where I'm at.
Society must burn if he does not get that dick. God damn it. Damn.
My response is, we can no longer get rid of tyranny by the ballots. It's only by bullets.
I mean, she's right. What do you have against being correct?
Anti-free speech take.
God,
See,
TJ.
technically, her ability to say that is an expression of her free speech. But what she's really saying is, if you kind of read between the lines, or in fact,
I mean, you don't really need to read. You don't really need to read between the lines.
There ain't no really
like, man, we can't win democratically anymore. Time to murder our political opponents. I don't really feel like that's.
Yeah, that's not exact. There's no reading between the lines. That's just like outright direct incitement of violence. Really, it's like it's only the bullets that need to answer now. It's like, what?
The line's too much.
It's like, I don't think there's...
was being said there.
Yeah.
I feel like it's pretty explicit.
At all. Or you could read the tweet. What she's really saying is, we need to kill our political opponents.
Yeah.
Why do we need to kill our political opponents? Well,
because they wouldn't let us see Hunter Biden's dick.
Well, killing Hitler would have been killing a political opponent. Sure. Well, they want to kill the Democrats because Joe Biden's team didn't want Hunter Biden's leaked nude, which is revenge porn, on Twitter. Yeah, that.
See, this is typical Vosh take, where he's sitting here talking all. I mean, like he keeps just sidestepping the fucking issue at hand here. The issue at hand here is Joe Biden's son has a fucking nice dick. And we as the American people have a right to see that nice big fucking dick. And Joe Biden and his campaign colluded with Twitter to censor us
deprive
being
us
able
of the
to see that dick.
Therefore, that ain't right.
Must fucking burn. Society must crumble. Because when you're living in a society so lost and so decadent that we're deprived of seeing that big old fucking dick, that's just not a society worth fucking letting stand. That's a society you gotta burn to the fucking ground, my friend. I make no apologies for this take. I'm being a little sarcastic, just so you guys know. I'm employing a little bit of facetiousness, which is not the same as fascism, by the way. Fascist and facetious, two different fucking words, different etymologies, I think.
I'm pretty sure.
Time to kill our opponents.
I think.
My personal opinion.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
Is that a world where people can't run for government while openly promoting the murder of their liberal political opponents for no reason at all is actually a freer world than one where they are able to. It's kind of the warlords thing, right? You know?
I mean, not really though, because once again, if there's enough people in the electorate to vote for that, if there's enough people in the electorate that look at someone who's like, my political opponent should die, if the people look at that and go like, that is what we want, then I don't really see how you, as a guy who has like promoted democracy and worker-owned co-ops and so on and so forth, can really object. Because if that's what the people want, that's what the people want. Like, I don't know. I'm not really hearing in all of this the... I mean, it seems like a big fucking mea culpa out of... maybe mea culpa might not be the right phrase here. It seems like you're just trying to escape the negative ramifications of democratic ideology. I'm not saying democratic like Democratic Party. I mean like democratic like actual direct sort of democratic control. Like power to the people. Like, hey, we need, you know, right now power is diffused into...
I guess to a degree.
But I'm an anarchist, and therefore I want to get rid of these hierarchical...
So I think it's just... I feel like it's just kind of more or less, you know, just more of an issue of, you know, the avocation of the violence aspect of it, and the need to challenge that more so than trying to, like, tiptoe around the idea of, like, of the ramifications of it. But, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong.
You know, to diffuse power to all people. Well, if the majority of people want a fucking nasty, bloodthirsty, fascist piece of shit, I don't understand how you can't just sidestep that by being like, well, no, that's not allowed. Because, like, they're still gonna fucking want it. It's that you haven't solved the underlying issue. Like, why is there a demand for that in the fucking first place? Like, that's the problem, right? And I guess, like, once again, like, deplatforming to me strikes me the same way as, like, let's lock up this criminal because they're bad. Okay, good. We locked up the criminal. But crime doesn't go down because we haven't dealt with any of the underlying issues, right? So I guess that's what I'd want to hear in this video. But maybe that's for a different video, and maybe that's already been explored elsewhere. I don't know. Vosh streams fucking 900 hours a day, so
900 hours.
If you give.
I mean, honestly, I think a lot of it is just called. I mean, yeah, a lot of it I think is just, you know, kind of comes from, you know, a lot of the issues of like socioeconomic conditions and how bad they are in a lot of ways. I think it really just kind of comes to that issue mainly.
Point.
And it also leads, I think, to, you know, different issues like, you know, crime as well. And, you know, I mean, I think honestly there's just a lot of variables at play that obviously we could just go on and on about.
Essentially of no government involvement in anything at all.
Dude,
you just get like...
All right, hey guy, VDS guy in the chat, can you, like, calm the fuck down? Like, I get it. You're so mad. Like, since the moment Vosh has appeared on this screen, you've done nothing but bitch and whine. Just leave if it's that fucking painful for you to watch, okay? Just get the fuck out. You suffered from some serious fucking VDS, bro. You got it bad. You literally cannot see this guy without fucking non-stop... I mean, I thought, like, I was gonna leave you alone and let you just do it, but you've not shut up. The fucking... I don't know how long I've been watching this video. Like 30 minutes, 40 minutes or something?
About.
And you're still just...
Paul likes Vosh, right? Yeah, I mean, I don't think he doesn't like him, but I don't think he outright likes him either.
He's just some fucking internet vlogger.
I mean, I got no clue.
He's a fucking guy that fucking gets on here and fucking talks some political shit. He's not even that controversial or anything. I don't understand. He's fucking Vosh, okay? Settle the fuck down.
Just the Vosh's presence is controversial. I don't know. You can't help the people who have VDS, man.
It's not worth it. It's not worth your energy. Okay? He's not worth fucking crying about. Either fucking...
For some people it is.
Don't listen to him.
I don't get it. For some people it surely is.
But don't fucking get yourself all tangled up in knots because Vosh dared to fucking say something one time. Settle the fuck down. Quit your fucking crying, bitch.
Vosh, when he Voshed out the Vosh shot once.
Who cares? You don't like Vosh. We fucking get it. You fucking made your goddamn point. Shut the fuck up. Or say something. Say something of fucking value. Express a goddamn opinion that actually
this guy really got
something or
under TJ's grill.
Don't like Vosh. Vosh bad. Vosh so bad. No like.
Oh my god. Here, hold on.
Actually, you can't.
Okay, there we go. He started coughing off a fit.
That's bad. You shouldn't do that. Don't murder. Don't rape. You scale it back, and eventually you have...
Oh my god, how dare you say that, Vosh. Wow.
We don't know exactly
what hot take.
We don't know what it should be, but we know that a line somewhere is probably good for everyone. And
he probably has TDS now.
You know, part of a good line is one where there are social consequences to saying this. Is one where there are social consequences to saying what ye said. Is one where we recognize that implicit...
We already have that, though. Like, Yi has already suffered social consequences. He's lost a bunch of advertising deals. He's lost a considerable amount of fans. But, I mean, there's always going to be people who stick up for him no matter what. There's always going to be people who don't care that he loves Hitler. who just love his music,
Unfortunately.
who just love the fact that he's out there fucking, upsetting libs or whatever the fuck. Out there triggering the libs. So they don't
Or
care
speaking the truth, or whatever.
what the fuck he's saying. They don't care if he's fucking sucking Hitler's cock. They don't care if he's fucking palling around with white supremacists or whatever the fuck. They don't give a shit. And you're never gonna make them give a shit. And it doesn't matter what you do. They're always gonna be out there. Because you just can't fucking take control of that. And I don't know what it is about these people. I don't know what sort of social, economic, cultural, whatever conditions have conspired to turn them into these fucking, like, pieces of shit that are just like, yeah, Hitler's cool. But it seems like that is a strain of human thought that nothing that we've thus far tried has been able to eradicate. And it can't stay with us. Like, there's
Obviously
just no
not.
space for it. Like, we can't have fascists and AI technology and brain chips and transhumanist stuff happening. Like, it can't all coexist.
Yeah.
Like, we're
That
already
shit
at a
just
point
can't
now where
happen.
things are fucked up. We're already at a point now where we still have religious fundamentalists in positions of power and nuclear bombs.
And some of them
It's
tend to be
already
fascist as well.
But the
So
idea
that's
that we're going to
great.
have Hitlers running around, but, also, like, AIs that can fucking go dig directly in your brain via Neuralinks and shit. Like, the fact that that's happening, not sustainable. The fact that, we're starting to get to the point of killbots being, considered for deployment in American cities, and they're largely in control
That's just
of
amazing.
right-wing organizations like the police. And
Luckily, from my understanding, San Francisco basically vehemently opposed that shit, and basically we're just like, no, we don't want this, and they actually we're like, all right, we're taking it away. Which good.
like Bezos and Musk and whoever else is out there, like the fact that all of this new game-changingly nightmarish in the wrong hands technology is ending up in exactly the hands of the people you wouldn't want it in is pretty fucking terrifying. And it's like, maybe there's not much time left to change this paradigm.
Yeah, San Fran missed out on
Maybe
gay
we're
bots and
under a
got the
fucking
death
gun
bots.
Maybe we have to make some quick fucking decisions. Maybe we have to fucking face some uncomfortable confrontations. Maybe it's time to, I don't know, to get a little messy. I don't know.
I mean, I tend to agree, honestly. I know what Teach is referring to. And that's why I kind of agree with Carl a little bit. I didn't read him earlier, but about the idea that the right tend to be a little bit more toughened up. And I think luckily there are at least, some people on the left, like I know Demo is at least one of them, who are kind of advocating more of advocation of, getting comfortable with things like firearms and learning how to use them, getting community defense training and learn how to protect yourself and, these type of things. Things that, can, in a way, be considered some masculine things, in nature. So it's just like, I mean, I know there's at least, mainly anarchist types, or at least, people I teach who are being a little bit more soft with the idea, who are kind of saying the same thing in different ways. And I tend to, too, a little bit. Like, I mean, it's, definitely something that, it's definitely something that, not all the left, but at least, some left, especially if they're very passionate about these things, needs to kind of start learning how to, for I guess lack of better words, toughen up a bit.
Nazi breakdowns are implicit defenses of Nazi breakdowns. That this isn't a statement that he would say about anyone else, even though it is empirically as true with Yi as it is with literally any person he's ever slandered in his entire career as being a retard online. Y'all get me, don't you? I'm going to keep hammering on this. People say I have censorious opinions on free speech. No, I don't.
This is the first result I type in.
Nazis from running the government actually is a very
Do I dare click
pro-free
these?
speech position. Your defenses
Hold on.
of free speech are not valid if they lead to a scenario in which all free speech is abolished, and likewise, these people don't give a shit about free speech. Like, at all. Not even remotely.
Okay, we're alright.
When,
I just had to make sure. I had to make sure.
Tried to open up libel and slander laws
What
with
the
his
fuck?
administration and government power.
The new Indiana Jones movie looks like shit, by the way. Yeah, I agree. I also agree with Vosh that his claims towards loving freedom of speech are more, I don't know, valid than those I see from the right, because at least there is an ideological consistency there. But I think the main problem is that as an anarchist, he has to reckon with the regressive nature of large percentages of the populace. And I want to see how he does that. That would be my big question in all this.
Sounds like TJ needs to have a conversation with him.
For reporting
I'm kind of vibing with the Pink Transformer. What do you think? I kind of vibe with the Pink Transformer.
That's where they're at.
It's kind of being sassy if it's like, I'm flexing my shit. Fuck you.
She certainly doesn't care about free speech. Very free, very speech. Oops.
Keep blocking Vosh. Sorry,
You all
Vosh.
can. Is there any good argument for disallowing them from being a Nazi? For espousing Nazi beliefs? No, I don't believe that. As much as people like to attribute like censorious or anti-free speech politics to me, I do not believe in hate speech laws, and I do not believe in arresting people for the stuff.
Oh my god! He's trying to perfectly mirror himself.
And disallowal from participating in public discourse if you're using it to spread hatred and to threaten violence against other people. I'm fully okay with that. I think that's acceptable. To me, that's a fair line. We have to understand we're playing for the highest stakes here, you know? Once the Nazis take power, that's it, you know? Wait, no hate speech laws for real? Yeah, for real. We already have laws for incitement to violence. We already have laws for death threat.
I mean, I feel like you'd be better off just being in favor of hate speech laws at that point. You know? Like, I don't know. I feel like, I don't know, I can't say I'm strongly in favor of
I'm sorry.
I strongly
I'm
condemn
afraid
the
I can't make that happen.
I don't know that it's very effective.
I'm sorry, Dave.
And don't get me wrong.
I'm afraid I can't do that.
I think it can be very effective in
You're just like
individual cases. Like, we successfully silenced this person. We successfully silenced Stefan Molyneux. We successfully silenced Milo Yiannopoulos. We successfully silenced X, Y, or Z person. We greatly diminished their voice, and we.
I mean, Milo's not totally censored.
Spreading this, that, or the other, virulent strain of hateful rhetoric. But ultimately, it just seems like the moment you strike one down, two more rise up.
Yeah.
It just seems like even if you win a limited little victory against one or two or three or four socially regressive voices, they've always got another one waiting in the wings, waiting to fucking take up the torch, take up the mantle, use a different lingo to convey the same thing, come up with some new dog whistles, come up with some new gaslighting terms, come up with some new way to frame the same old
SSDD, same shit, different day.
So it doesn't really seem like it actually is effective in the broader sense of slowing down regressive or fascist ideology. It might be effective in dealing with specific opponents. I don't think that can be argued, but I don't think that it actually is effective in sort of a broader context. I think it's very much akin, and I've used the analogy a couple times already, but I'm going to use it once more. I think it's very akin to locking up a criminal and saying, well, the justice system works because now that criminal can no longer go out and commit crime. That might be true, but crime is
so it's
going to
be another criminal take place.
Once again, you haven't dealt with the underlying problems. And I think that if you want my remedy, I would say, once again, just to reiterate my points, that don't censor opinions, censor misinformation. And be more aggressive in the dialogue. We need a culture of intensive dialogue. We need a culture where these ideas are strongly confronted, where we no longer rely on passive tactics like deplatforming. We rely more on direct confrontation of these bad ideas. And, Vosh, I think, does a terrific job at that, so I don't want this to come across like I'm going against what Vosh is saying. I want more to supplement it and to add another perspective to it. So I hope that that's what I've done here. And
I think TJ has done pretty good on it.
This segment. We're going to move on.
Nice. And I think it'll add, at least stop watching TJ with that ado, because I think that's a pretty fruitful little segment. I think, honestly, there's, I think, a couple points where, I feel like, need a little stirring in the brain for that. But I think pretty much for the most part, pretty much agree, though. I mean, there needs to definitely be more of an aggressive, tense, dialogue and confrontation with these type of ideas. And, I guess to a degree of sales, sometimes, if that ends up, at least when it comes to a one-on-one, face-to-face thing, come to blows and shit, then, let a fist fight happen, It's just sometimes, tussles and fights and brawls happen, over shit, but hey, it's once a little skiffle happens and break it up and dust off you and, scrape the bruises off and shit, it's whatever. You end up getting to cool down and cool off a little bit. So, it's not like the end of the world if, a little scuffle happens and shit. If things get, at least messy in that way. But obviously, stakes tend to be a little bit more higher in some circumstances. Should Eldridge get the... Well, I'm gonna plead the fifth. I'll let that imply my answer. But yeah, I think I'll catch the last little bit of that bowl. Then let's go good for a little bit for right now, but come back in a few hours. Yeah, do at least a good little 4 juicy hours of work. Technically, it's supposed to be earlier, but I have a legit excuse. So. Okay, well, alright, yeah, I'm, okay. You're all making me speed up that process, so I'll be back a little bit later tonight, so peace out. Of course, be back for that next one. It might not be tonight, but very likely tonight, so anyway.